देशों में उपयोग में आ रहा है और आज दुनिया में सबसे अच्छी डिजिटल पेमेंट टेक्नोलॉजी यूपीआई है। मेरा फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री ये है कि मैं सरकार से ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि जिन
Earlier, so we saw JP Nadda making a statement from the Parliament on the much anticipated and long pending India-US trade deal, and Republic's coverage, rolling coverage on the deal continues here as well. I have my colleague Pranav also with me on this. Viewers, we're covering the much anticipated deal between the India and US, which was announced last night by President Trump. We also had a statement coming from the Prime Minister, and the mood of the country here today, very positive is what our Prime Minister says. He was earlier facilitated by the NDA leaders as well. And we're looking at this confidence and now brimming up, in fact, in the NDA leadership. Prime Minister himself, as this much anticipated deal between the India and the US has now been announced. Tariffs have been cut down to 18%. Remember, this comes after months of stalled negotiations. Tariff tensions are building up between the two economies, and now the deal has finally been announced. Let's also listen in as to what JP Nadda said earlier in the Parliament.
कल देर रात अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति जी ने एक ट्वीट किया है जिसमें उन्होंने टैरिफ्स के बारे में प्रधानमंत्री जी को अवगत कराया और उन्होंने प्रधानमंत्री जी के बारे में एक सच्चे दोस्त के बारे में भी चर्चा की है उस ट्वीट में। उसके बाद आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने गवर्नमेंट को शुक्रिया अदा किया नहीं दिस इज नॉट गुड। उन्होंने विस्तृत रूप से धन्यवाद देते हुए ट्रेड के बारे में जो भारत और अमेरिका के संबंध है उसकी चर्चा की है इस ट्वीट में। मैं यहां ये बताना चाहता हूं कि मैं विपक्ष की हताशा, विपक्ष का फ्रस्ट्रेशन ये स्पष्ट मुझे दिखता है, जिन्हें अच्छाई में भी बुराई दिखने का एक तरीका बन गया है। मैं सरकार की तरफ से आपको यह आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि सरकार पूरी ट्रेड के बारे में, ऑल माइन्यूट डिटेल्स के बारे में सरकार आएगी और आपको बताएगी और कंसर्न मंत्री उसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे। बहुत जल्द सरकार सो मोटो स्टेटमेंट देने वाली है और इस ट्रेड डील के बारे में भी विस्तृत रूप से चर्चा लेकिन ये जो तरीका है, दिस मेथोडोलॉजी, ये तरीका प्रजातंत्र के लिए बहुत बड़ा घातक है और इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस और इंडी अलायंस का इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर है। इट इज एन इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर when the government is ready to answer each and every question.
All right, viewers, that was a big statement made by JP Nadda on the India-US trade deal. Pranav, it seems a lot of confidence in the NDA leadership as well we are witnessing right after the announcement.
Well, absolutely. Prime Minister today morning just said thank you. These two words are very, very important given the silence that we've seen over the past 6 months. If you remember, there were a lot of statements that were made by US decision makers, some sort of incitements, but India remained silent. India did not react. So these words that are coming are probably much weighted response post a measured response that in fact India put out yesterday.
Right, of course, so very timely as well. India
Absolutely.
played the strategic silence really well. We saw a lot of statements coming in from Scott Bessent. We had Howard Lutnick and
Absolutely.
a lot of Peter Navarro making very targeted statements
Absolutely.
against India.
Absolutely.
But Indian side remained silent, continued to sign FTAs with other countries on the side, and time also gave us sort of leverage here, right?
Well, whatever interactions we've had with analysts, it's in fact worked as a blessing in disguise because India tried to expand its export base to other countries. If you just have to go through the list, we've signed economic partnership agreements and free trade agreements with UK, Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, Oman, Australia, UAE, and the EU, the mother of all deals that we signed. I think Trump's effort to probably hold a monopoly has kind of swung or spun the other way, wherein we are seeing a multipolar world and a new world order emerging, and India is definitely, playing that from the front.
And as Prime Minister also rightly said, the world order is changing. India is finding its place in that changing order. Also, because you mentioned a lot of FTAs that India has recently signed. How do you think, the role of the mother of all deals played in triggering this India-US FTA? Do you think it sort of fastened the pace here?
Well, we saw a lot of economic, financial activity over the past about a week or so. We were talking to one of the experts who very cheekily today morning said that he may have got a FOMO post the mother of all deals that was signed last week. So yes, with Trump, we cannot rule that out. But yes, that's not something that you can probably, peg around as something that may have definitively resulted in the US-India trade deal being announced.
Right, of course. And also, we do not have the fine print of the deal yet. We're still awaiting the details. And with Donald Trump, unpredictability is a factor that we have to take into our considerations. So do you think the celebration is right now like too hyped? Are we hyping the deal too much at this point?
I wouldn't say that it's hyped, because the US ambassador to India has already clarified. He's already said that the tariffs are slashed from 50% to 18%. So definitely a lot of substance there could be this time in Trump's deal. I'm given to understand that we are joined by Mr. Shubhrikant Panda, past president of FICCI. He's joining us from Delhi. Mr. Panda, thank you very much for joining us on this big day where we saw a post-market, a late-night announcement by the US administration that there has been a trade deal signed between India and the United States. Want to understand from you, sir, what kind of tailwinds is India Inc. expecting from this announcement?
Good afternoon. I think this is an extremely positive development, because while India has certainly, entered into multiple FTAs in the past couple of years, including most recently the mother of all trade deals with the European Union, but there is no question that the one with the US is very important, given that the United States is our largest trading partner and obviously is a preeminent power globally. So I think this is something which is very significant. It will, our traditional markets in certain sectors will benefit tremendously from the duty being slashed to 18%. While we are still awaiting the details, and I understand that this is broadly speaking an agreement on reciprocal tariffs, and a broader FTA covering multiple other issues will still be discussed and taken forward. But no question that this is an important development, one which has been brought about by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's sagacity, the personal rapport that he shares with the US President, Mr. Trump. You're seeing that reflected in the stock markets, because there is certainly an element of positivity coming out as a result of this, yesterday's late night announcement.
In fact, one of the numbers that the US president pegged was 500 billion. Given that India's trade basket itself is about 700 billion, do you think, what substance do you think is there in this number as such, sir? Is there enough scope for India to carry out trade worth 500 billion with just one nation?
Look, I don't think there are enough details available for me to comment on specifics and how feasible it is, because we don't know if it is 500 billion over a 5-year period, or what that number signifies. I think it is important to wait for the details to come out before we sort of start on it. This could very well be a sort of a statement of intent to increase bilateral trade, what those specifics are. What is it that what are the sectors where this increase in trade will come about? These are all, I think, details which will come out over the next 48 to 72 hours. So I think it is not there's no point in speculating what it entails and how feasible it is. But suffice it to say that when two world leaders of the stature of Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Trump, talk about something. I mean, obviously there is some, more than just some substance to it. There is, I would presume there is a grand plan of action. But I think it's better to wait for the specifics.
Mr. Panda, they say that the devil is in the detail, and in fact, in case of the EU-India trade deal, there are still, the fine print is still being worked out. We're expecting that that deal will actually, come into effect about a year from now. Are industry voices telling you about the likely timeline for the US-India trade deal? Are we looking at some kind of vague timelines, even if at this point, when it comes to the India-US trade deal?
Look, I would again not like to hazard a guess because I'm obviously not privy to the proceedings. But suffice it to say, I think the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has made it very clear that India will protect its core interests. It will obviously not rush into any agreement. But having said that, I'm sure the engagement is taking place at the highest levels. And many there are many actors who have had a role to play, whether it is the Commerce and Industry Minister, the External Affairs Minister, the Commerce Secretary from the Indian side, and their counterparts from the US. So I wouldn't like to hazard a guess about the timeline, but I would certainly think that this is a top priority. We have cracked the initial step, which is to at least get the reciprocal tariffs down from 50% to 18%. That is a huge development with a lot of positivity for Indian industry, especially for sectors, labor-intensive sectors like gems, jewelry, textiles, apparel, etc. So they all stand to benefit. But I'm sure that this will be operationalized at the earliest, I think, in interactions. Yesterday, the US ambassador to India has indicated that something will be signed in the next 3 to 4 days. I mean, as you obviously know, the External Affairs Minister is already in the US with regard to discussions on critical minerals. So there are multiple aspects. I think what's important to keep in mind that the Indo-US relationship is one of the most significant, not just from a bilateral viewpoint, but also from a global perspective. So this will certainly get priority in terms of being operationalized at the earliest, so that people and businesses on both sides benefit sooner rather than later.
All right, Mr. Panda, thank you very much, and thank you for giving us a clarity on the likely tentative timeline that we could look at probably as the deal actually fructifies. We're given to understand JP Nadda has just made a statement. He has elaborated upon some kind of details that's expected to be shared. A state government is supposed to make a statement on the India-US trade deal. Let's have a look at that.
कल देर रात अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति जी ने एक ट्वीट किया है जिसमें उन्होंने टैरिफ्स के बारे में प्रधानमंत्री जी को अवगत कराया और उन्होंने प्रधानमंत्री जी के बारे में एक सच्चे दोस्त के बारे में भी चर्चा की है उस ट्वीट में। उसके बाद आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने शुक्रिया अदा किया। नहीं, दिस इज नॉट गुड। उन्होंने विस्तृत रूप से धन्यवाद देते हुए ट्रेड के बारे में जो भारत और अमेरिका के संबंध है उसकी चर्चा की है इस ट्वीट में। मैं यहाँ ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि मैं विपक्ष की हताशा, विपक्ष का फ्रस्ट्रेशन ये स्पष्ट मुझे दिखता है, जिन्हें अच्छाई में भी बुराई दिखने का एक तरीका बन गया है। मैं सरकार की तरफ से आपको ये आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि सरकार पूरी ट्रेड के बारे में, ऑल माइन्यूट डिटेल्स के बारे में सरकार आएगी और आपको बताएगी और कंसर्न मंत्री उसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे। बहुत जल्द सरकार सो मोटो स्टेटमेंट देने वाली है और इस ट्रेड डील के बारे में भी विस्तृत रूप से चर्चा करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है। लेकिन ये जो तरीका है, दिस मेथोडोलॉजी, ये तरीका प्रजातंत्र के लिए बहुत बड़ा घातक है और इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस और इंडिया अलायंस का इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर है। इट इज एन इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर when the government is ready to answer each and every question.
All right, viewers, as we continue continue to track the biggest story of the day, India-US trade deal. We are given to understand that government is now likely to make a statement on the trade deal in Parliament. Positive environment across the country after India-US trade deal. Earlier, we saw Prime Minister Modi getting felicitated by the leaders in the NDA party meet, and now we expect that the government will be making a big statement on the trade deal in the Parliament. A short while from now, we're expecting the government to make an official statement on the floor of the Parliament regarding the India-US trade deal that was announced yesterday by President Trump and Prime Minister Modi as well. And today we have seen celebrations and positive environment all across the country. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, there we are getting you visuals, getting a warm welcome and then getting felicitated by NDA leaders as well. And now, viewers, we are expecting the government to make a statement in the Parliament regarding the India-US trade deal. Remember, as part of this deal, tariffs have been cut to 18%, a sharp cut from the earlier 50%. All right, let's also listen in to the message of the Prime Minister on this trade deal. All right, viewers, there Prime Minister Modi getting felicitated, receiving a warm welcome by the NDA leaders right after India-US trade deal was announced. Now, let's also listen into what Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju has said on the trade deal between India and US. All right, we'll try to get that bite for you, viewers. But this is the news of the hour. NDA MPs are congratulating Prime Minister Modi over the trade deal signed between India and US. And Prime Minister replying in just 2 words, is saying thank you. Although just 2 words, but says a lot. And now, viewers, let's dip in to the bite by Kiren Rijiju and his reaction on the deal.
आज का एनडीए पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी मीटिंग में भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नए अध्यक्ष नितिन नवीन जी का स्वागत हुआ और फिर ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में 9 ट्रेड डील जो हुए हैं जिसको हम फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट कहते हैं और इंडिया ईयू फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट अभी 1 सप्ताह पहले ही 1 सप्ताह भी पूरा नहीं हुआ। इंडिया ईयू फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट का 1 सप्ताह के अंदर फिर कल अमेरिका का साथ में जो एग्रीमेंट हुए और जो अनाउंसमेंट हुए टैरिफ में कटौती का, उसको लेकर के देश भर में उत्साह है। तो सांसदों में बहुत उत्साह थे। आज एनडीए पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अभिनंदन किया और उनका मार्गदर्शन में जो ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स हासिल किए हैं उसके लिए बधाई भी दी है। टोटल 39 देश 39 देशों के साथ फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट हो गए हैं। ये ऐतिहासिक है और ये 39 कंट्रीज जो है पूरा डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज है, जैसे यूरोपियन यूनियन के जितने कंट्रीज हो या ऑस्ट्रेलिया हो, न्यूजीलैंड हो, यूके हो, तो ये ऐतिहासिक है। पूरा माहौल अच्छा बना है देश में एक शुभ खबर रात को आधी रात में मिडनाइट में आए, तो आज देशवासियों को भी हमने बधाई दिया है और प्रधानमंत्री जी को अच्छा नेतृत्व के लिए अभिनंदन किया है।
All right, viewers, on the other side, coming up, markets soar high after India-US pact. Sensex Nifty jumped 5% post the deal announcement. Rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus dollar in early trade right after India-US trade deal announced.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा, सबका राजा और प्योर मसाला। सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
Hi, good morning to you. Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
You've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says, I've reduced the tariffs to 18%. And then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion. So there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims. But the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from.
Trump says India and US have agreed to trade deal lowers tariffs to 18%. And D Street cheers India-US deal. Market soar 5% on India-US pact. Market soar on India-US pact. Sensex Nifty jump 5% plus post-deal. Rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus dollar in an early trade after India-US trade deal. And also, PM Modi honored for the trade deal by NDA leaders. PM Modi's message on trade deal to NDA MPs says world order is changing. All right, viewers, we start with this edition with the biggest story that is making headlines globally, and this is the much discussed and long-awaited US-India trade deal, which has been finally announced. And also, we're getting reaction from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he was felicitated by the NDA leaders on this major breakthrough deal that happened between India and United States after a very long time, after the punishing tariffs that were imposed on India. Let's listen into what Narendra Modi has said. All right, viewers, after months of uncertainty and rising trade pressure, the long-pending US-India trade deal was finally sealed with a direct announcement by US President Donald Trump following a call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, the announcement also comes less than a week after India and the European Union announced a landmark trade deal that capped nearly 2 decades of on-off talks. Here's a report on that.
India has clinched a landmark trade deal with the United States yesterday. US President Donald Trump announced an immediate reduction in reciprocal tariffs on Indian exports.
3 minutes.
The breakthrough was confirmed following a phone call between US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This brings immediate tariff relief to Indian exporters and signals a reset in bilateral trade relations between the two biggest democracies. Trump's announcement comes shortly after India signed a major free trade agreement with the European Union, a move widely seen as increasing pressure on Washington to close the deal. The India-EU deal, dubbed the mother of all deals and finalized after nearly 2 decades of negotiations, gives India sweeping duty-free access to the European Union's $572.3 billion pharmaceuticals and medical devices market. The US tariff cut also comes a day after India presented its union budget, with key provisions aimed at offsetting the impact of Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian goods. Even as the deal was sealed, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar departed for the United States to attend a ministerial meeting on critical minerals, underscoring the broader strategic engagement underway. The India-US trade talks had slowed significantly since August, when ties took a sharp downturn after Washington imposed a 50% tariff on Indian goods, citing New Delhi's continued purchase of Russian oil. In July, Trump had already announced additional tariffs on all Indian goods, warning of penalties if India continued energy imports from Russia. The impasse finally began to ease after months of negotiations. In September, President Trump publicly expressed hope that the dispute would be resolved soon. And in December, Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke over the telephone, reviewing progress in the India-US partnership. While there was no immediate announcement on trade, both leaders acknowledged discussions on expanding cooperation in critical technologies, energy, defense, security, and trade. In January, US Ambassador Sergio Gore confirmed that the two countries were inching closer to a trade agreement. And yesterday, it was finally announced. The deal not only delivers relief to Indian exporters, but also reinforces India's growing leverage in global trade negotiations.
All right, viewers, we'll continue our mega coverage on the India-US trade deal that has been finalized. I'm also being joined by our senior executive editor, Abhishek, with me in the studio. Abhishek, it's a very big achievement, and it's also a sigh of relief when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was walking into the complex and everybody was praising, everybody was congratulating, and you can very well analyze the way he was walking, the way he was smiling. Everybody, all the cabinet ministers were also very confident, and the way he was felicitated also speaks a lot. What's your take on this?
Well, you see, it is, of course, a big diplomatic win. It's a massive geopolitical statement coming in by the signing of this deal between India and the United States. It shows patience, pace. It shows that you can deal with a bully and come out trumps, rather literally. And I think this is really comparative. That vis-a-vis our competitors like Vietnam, Indonesia, our tariffs, even Bangladesh, our tariffs are better. Let's look at how it's panning out in Parliament. I believe JP Nadda spoke in the Rajya Sabha just a while back.
फिर से रिकॉर्ड पर लाना चाहता हूं कि ये जो इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस है और ये जो इंडी गठबंधन है, इनका जो व्यवहार है वह बहुत ही निंदनीय है और वह एक तरीके से इस बात को प्रतिलक्षित करता है कि न तो उनको देश के विकास में इंटरेस्ट है, न ही देश के ट्रेड और हमारा व्यापार बढ़े इसमें इंटरेस्ट है। उनका इंटरेस्ट सिर्फ हर चीज में राजनीति करने का है, जो अभी हमको प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण मिला है। पहले ये कहते रहे कि ट्रंप का जवाब दीजिए, ट्रंप का जवाब दीजिए। 50% टैरिफ लग गया, भारत क्या कर रहा है? आज जब सो मोटो स्टेटमेंट अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति ने देर रात कल ट्वीट किया और उसमें कहा, प्रधानमंत्री जी की तारीफ करते हुए उसने कहा कि मैं उनका सच्चा दोस्त हूं एंड ही इज द ओनली स्ट्रांग लीडर लाइक मी, इस तरीके के शब्दों का उपयोग करते हुए उन्होंने यह कहा कि मैं टैरिफ को 25% से रिड्यूस करके 18% करता हूं। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने उसका जवाब दिया और उसमें धन्यवाद दिया है। सरकार किसी बात से भी, कोई भी बात से चर्चा करने से पीछे नहीं रहती है, हमेशा आगे रहती है। मैंने आज भी इनको आश्वस्त किया कि गवर्नमेंट विल कम आउट ऑन ए सो मोटो स्टेटमेंट टुडे इटसेल्फ, वी आर रेडी फॉर इट। और हम चर्चा करने के लिए भी तैयार है। कौन सी बात का चर्चा आपने नहीं की? आपने जी राम जी कहा, उस पर हमने चर्चा की। आपने SIR कहा, हमने उस पर चर्चा की। आप देश में एक वातावरण बनाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि सरकार कुछ छुपा रही है, सरकार चर्चा नहीं करना चाहती। अरे आपके पास मुद्दे नहीं रह गए। यू आर इशूलेस पार्टी नाउ, यू हैव गॉट नो इशू। और मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि आपका बड़ा गैर जिम्मेदाराना व्यवहार है, इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर है और ये एक तरीके से गैर राष्ट्रवादी व्यवहार है। इसको भी हमको ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। इट इज एंटी नेशनल, इनको नेशन से कोई लेना देना नहीं है। ये आज ऐसे मुकाम पर आकर के पहुंचे हैं जहां इनका फ्रस्ट्रेशन हर मोड़ पर दिख रहा है।
All right, so this was JP Nadda reacting to the reactions of the Congress party and the opposition as a whole. Harsha is joining live. She's live with me from the Parliament complex. Harsha, the reactions that you're getting from the Congress party still seems to be very upset. They are not happy with the trade deal being finalized and the tariffs being slashed. Earlier, they were unhappy because of the tariffs being raised and what the Modi government is doing. When Modi government has achieved something, they are still unhappy. What are the reactions you're getting, Harsha?
See, it's not very surprising now for us because whenever something good is cracked for the country, they are never happy. Sometimes they criticize the government for not doing something, and if something beneficial is being done for the country, they always criticize. They have something or the other to come out with. And it's not only Congress. There's most of the opposition party. Like when we spoke to Arvind Sawant from the UBT, he also stated it's nothing much to be happy about. 2 days back, the Nifty crashed. Today, the rupee is not that much stronger. It has gone just 90-point-some% high, and it doesn't make a lot of difference. It is just near to the one rupee more stronger. And you know, any any point of time it could again crash. So they are never happy. They keep on criticizing. But as far as the traders are concerned, as far as the stock market people are concerned, they're extremely happy. They feel that now the volatility which was in the market, how the market was up and down, there were so many headwinds in the market. At least now the stability could be seen. The tariff has been cut off from 25% to 18%. It is immensely, the happiness which could be seen in the traders, in the MSME sector, amongst the manufacturers as well. And there are several sectors which are already applauding, because it's not about just one thing. It's not about just a trade deal on one thing. We will be getting apples from Washington. There will be the soya bean. The farmers will be boosted. The farmers will be strengthening. And this is all completely how the Modi government is looking at the development of the country. And this trade deal, what BJP is stating, is something which the Trump has quoted in the night. And after that, since morning, the response have been very applauding from the across these sectors, be it MSME, be it manufacturers, be it the industrialists. Everyone has been congratulating the BJP leaders, the central government, for cracking this US trade deal. And what in Parliament we see that be it TMC, be it Congress party, be it the UPT, no one has applauded the government till now. Most of the political parties like TMC has also stated that we want the detailing. We want detailing of the 9 issues on the trade deal, how it has happened, how the farmers will be benefited, what are the products, and if we talk about precisely what the farmers, in what sectors they will be benefited, everything in detail, the government has to respond. We have already seen that how in Rajya Sabha, JP Nadda has clearly stated that whenever something good has happened, the Congress party and the opposition parties are never happy. They create a chaos, and if they want the response from the government in detail, the government is ready to respond in Lok Sabha, in the House of the Parliament in detail. And today we are expecting the response could be from the BJP party in the Lok Sabha, but right till now we are not clear whether it will be the Commerce Minister who will be making a statement in the Lok Sabha, or whether it will be the MOS Commerce, the Commerce Minister who will be making a statement in Lok Sabha, because still now Piyush Goyal is not in the Parliament. We're expecting that, yes, but statement will be made in Lok Sabha. Back to you.
I'm fine. I got it. All right, that's the kind of politicking we are seeing in Parliament, Shivam, and we have some guests joining us. Remember, it's a big deal, the India-US trade deal announced by President Trump last night through a post, as it happens always. Joining us in this broadcast, Mr. Vijay Sankar, Senior Vice President, FICCI, and Chairman of the Sanmar Group. We also have Mr. Puneet Dalmia, Vice President, FICCI, and Managing Director and CEO of the Dalmia Bharat Limited. Very good afternoon good noon to both of you. Mr. Dalmia, if I could begin with you first. Your first comments on the manner in which the trade deal got announced and the significance of it all in the scheme of things for India's business, for India in general.
I think as one of our senior industry members said today, this is the EU deal was the mother of all deals. And this is the father of all deals. So I think we've started on a great note. We have signed deals with 2 large economies in a very short period of time. And I think this will benefit our exporters a lot. It gives a phenomenal opportunity to diversify our supply chains and also access markets to boost our growth. So I think we've started on a fantastic note. Budget outlines are, the detailed planning for achieving the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Viksit Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I think this will, help in further strengthening that vision.
All right, Mr. Sankar, before President Trump came into office, the average tariff that Indian goods attracted in the US were 11 or 13%. Now we are saying, oh, wow, fantastic, we have 18% tariff. So is it because it's always comparative? So if Vietnam gets 20, Bangladesh gets 20, we are getting 18, China gets 37, so it's still good. We have to ultimately live in a tariff world.
Abhishek, I sort of tend to agree with your position. I think, we have to look at it relative to our other major competing supply economies, which is Vietnam, China, Thailand, Philippines, all of them. And I think we're on a good footing compared to most of these large economies, which also service the US market. So I would think this is a fantastic achievement by the Indian government, getting to 18%. And I think it's really going to, as Puneet explained, benefit a lot of employment-intensive sectors, the marine sector, shrimps, gems and jewelry, the engineering sector, the auto component sector, and the very important, crucial textile sector. I think all of them stand to gain immensely from this deal. I think there's just no other way other than to say it's been an extremely positive announcement.
All right. Mr. Dalmia, when this were happening, the kind of turbulence that went into this, or we went through actually, with the posts changing and the attacks changing, the echo chamber that got created around the Lutniks and the Besants, the way India was targeted. Did the industry think that maybe for the time being the India-US relationship, and hence the India-US trade, is sort of lost for a while, and there was an element of desperation that, or maybe confusion, what's happening, how it will come out of it? Now, how do you look back at those times, Mr. Dalmia?
Look, we live in an uncertain and turbulent world. I also think that as investors and as people from the industry, we like regulatory certainty. And whenever there is regulatory uncertainty, there is some turbulence. But that's a fact of life. And I think, we have to always, as entrepreneurs, look at the positive aspects of it. I think what the industry has done phenomenally well is that they have diversified their supply chains. I know a lot of my friends, who looked at other markets, during this period of uncertainty. And, water finds its own level. And I'm really amazed that, how quickly some people have diversified their supply chains. I believe that, just leather exports, textiles and marine was the largest hit, but people have looked at Australia, New Zealand, people have looked at Europe, people have looked at Vietnam also. And even though the base was small, even within the last few months, the growth in some of these markets has been pretty phenomenal. So I think, yes, there was uncertainty, but uncertainty also presents opportunity. And I think it's, really commendable how quickly Indian entrepreneurs have responded. There is no doubt that there has been some difficulty because, you have to face and adjust in a short period of time. But that's a part of doing business. And it further builds muscle and strength in companies to handle, such shocks. So, but overall, I think all of that is behind us now, and we have to look forward. Looking forward to large trade deals, big opportunity. And I think both from a domestic standpoint and a global standpoint, India is very well positioned to harness growth.
Mr. Sankar, the fact of the matter is that if the corporate sector gets the heebie-jeebies, it can actually be monitored literally, like with the Sensex and the Nifty. So if you look at the markets, the way they have reacted, the way they were going down and down and down, and now almost 4,000 points plus up, I think the reaction of the industry is right there to be read.
Absolutely, and I think I would add that it's not just the comfort in the stock market. I think it's also the forex markets, the interest rate markets. I think all of them were seeing this as a big positive. I think for the exchange rate as well, it's a big, it's a big supportive deal. I think, as I said, there are very few negatives on this. In my view, one should look, as Puneet said, the deal is done. We should look beyond, and I think we have to harness the positives that are going to arise, which are going to be immense, both ways. I think both for the India and the US. I think the markets are just reflective of that sentiment. It's hugely positive. I think there's no two ways about it.
Right. And Mr. Dalmia, the fact of the matter is that if you look at the US corporate sector, the top 10, top 20, top 50, top 100, the Fortune 500, the kind of Indian talent that really runs the American corporate sector, it should have acted as a soft power. Maybe behind the scenes, it did act as India's soft power, ultimately prevailing over the Trump administration. How do you see things going on from here? Like, is it going to be all good? Because remember, with President Trump, you never know.
Look, India is a large economy. India is a very dependable economy. India shares the values of democracy and a civilizational state, with many of these economies. So I think India has lots of advantages. It offers growth, it offers diversification, and it also offers sustainability because you're a dependable and a long-term reliable partner. So I don't think anybody can ignore India. And I also think that, the global winds are changing in India's favor. It has, both these deals have happened literally back to back. And I think, the budget also has, created building blocks to sustain growth in, large sectors as well as emerging sectors. So I think all in all, I personally feel that we are very well positioned to handle any, turbulence that may come up. We can always, we can never say that the world will be a predictable place, but our ability to handle that unpredictability and offer certainty to the world has significantly gone up. And I think India is being viewed as a very reliable and a long-term partner for the reasons that I outlined.
Yeah. And Mr. Dalmia, you had made a point about, the supply chain diversification, if I can take that to Mr. Shankar with some specifics. As they say in Hindi, aapada mein afsar, so this turbulence really turned into an opportunity also for India to look at other geographies, strengthen our trade with other geographies, shift the supply chains, look for better markets. You think the industry also has come out stronger out of this period of turbulence, Mr. Shankar, and from your own specific experience with your industry?
Absolutely. I think industry has taken this period of a few months of challenging times as a period of, experience and learning. I think nobody ever had a doubt that this deal would get done. At the same time, they've used this opportunity to diversify their export markets. I think we must not forget the historic India-EU deal as well. I think for a country like India to have signed two large deals, both India-EU and the US deal, in a short span of a few weeks is really presents big opportunities for especially the small and medium sector. All the areas that I spoke about, gem and jewelry, engineering, auto components, these are all largely small, medium companies. And the benefits that they're going to see with the diversity in markets that they built up over the last 6 months, plus the US deal coming back, I think the next 12 to 18 months could be a game changer in terms of reviving growth rates beyond what we would normally expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Dalmia, do you give credit to the government to have had the patience? No senior minister really hit back at the US, turned it into a jaw and sort of a road downhill in terms of a combative diplomacy. I think that also has paid dividends.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is the Indian culture. I think this government embodies that Indian DNA. Be patient and वो धैर्य रखने की जरूरत होती है. Sometimes, you have to just, watch, weigh your options, be steady, and offer predictability and certainty. I think what people like in today's world is that India is a very reliable, a very consistent, and a very long-term partner. So I think that is something which is very unique to India. And, this government, has to be given, 10 out of 10 for how they've handled some of these, global negotiations and kept India's flag flying high and kept Indian long-term interests in mind and, come up with a win-win solution.
A win-win solution. I think on that note, we can end this conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Dalmia and Mr. Shankar, for bringing us that very valuable industry perspective. And with that, I think, Shivam, a short break and then we come back.
Yeah, definitely a short break, but don't go anywhere because coming up next, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal rushes to Delhi and is expected to make a statement on trade deal in Parliament in the second half. Coming up next.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग स्टिक भी बन सकती है।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. in response to the President's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan article in detail. So what does this article say? This article talks of the 2020 Chinese intrusions, which had culminated in the Galwan incident, in which 19 Indian soldiers had lost their lives. No weapons had been used, but the Chinese had laid an ambush with pointed stones, with baseball bats wrapped up with barbed wire and nails and studded with lethal handheld weapons. You see, 19 Indians had been killed, but in response our soldiers had given an excellent account of themselves in hand-to-hand combat, and it is said that 45, some claim up to 100 Chinese soldiers were killed, which they tried to hide by saying they had lost just 5 soldiers. The simple fact is that after this violent incident leading to 19 fatalities on the Indian side, we should have thrown the knife.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Welcome back, friends. It's a big day after US President Donald Trump announced that he has finally made a deal with India on trade, and it's a big one, coming as it does on the back of mother of all deals between India and the European Union. Was the Trump administration going through its FOMO moments, fear of missing out, and then agreed for it? That's going to be our focus all day. Ishita, let's begin with the headlines.
Of course, let's cut across to headlines at this hour. Republic has the inside scoop from the NDA Parliamentary meeting. Prime Minister Modi says India-US trade sign of a new world order.
पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अभिनंदन किया और उनका मार्गदर्शन में जो ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स हासिल किए हैं उसके लिए बधाई भी दी है.
India cheers as the nation locks in historic trade deal with the US. MPs congratulate Prime Minister for landmark deals in 1 week. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement. D Street cheers India-US trade deal. Markets soar 5% after the announcement. Rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus US dollar in early trade, right after the announcement of India-US trade deal. Now, viewers, ladies and gentlemen, it is the biggest headline of the year. India has logged in a major trade breakthrough.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the biggest headline of the year. In fact, India has locked in a major trade breakthrough with the United States, the announcement for which was made by US President Donald Trump, marking a decisive moment in New Delhi, Washington, D.C. economic ties. The high-stakes deal aimed at boosting market access, easing tariffs, and strengthening its strategic commerce signals India's growing clout on the global trade table and sets the tone for a new phase of bilateral partnership between the two nations, which seemed wobbly till yesterday. This deal with the US is going to see tariffs coming down from a high of 50%, including the 25% penalty for buying Russian oil, to just 18%, and that's the effective rate now. And this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was felicitated by the NDA lawmakers in Parliament for securing the deal, and in that meet, Prime Minister sent out a strong message outlining the importance of this development. He spoke of how a new world order is emerging. Take a look at what happened during the parliamentary meeting this morning and after in the Parliament.
And now, viewers, we also have some political reactions coming in on this historic trade deal. Let's listen in.
इससे पहले टैरिफ क्या था जब 25% लगा दिया गया था, क्या 18% ही था? इससे कई गुना कम था जो टैरिफ लगाया गया। अभी भी 18% जो टैरिफ लगाया गया है, ये अपने आप में प्रश्न चिन्ह उठाता है, क्योंकि इसकी घोषणा भारत सरकार की तरफ से करी बात ये यूएस के प्रेसिडेंट ने करी है। और लगातार जिस तरह से यूएस का रवैया भारत की तरफ रहा है, वो दर्शाता है कि जो भारत सरकार है वो यूएस जिस तरह से डील करना चाहिए उस तरह से हमारा जो फॉरेन मिनिस्ट्री वो डील नहीं कर पाता।
ये समझौता हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों किसानों के साथ विश्वासघात है। न सिर्फ करोड़ों किसानों के साथ, बल्कि अमेरिका का राष्ट्रपति कह रहा है कि अब हिंदुस्तान रूस से तेल नहीं खरीदेगा। यानी कि अमेरिका से अगर आप तेल खरीदेंगे तो महंगा तेल हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों लोगों को खरीदना पड़ेगा। आपने दोहरी मार इस देश के लोगों को दी, विश्वासघात किया इस देश के लोगों के साथ। जिस कृषि क्षेत्र को हमेशा संरक्षित रखा गया कि भारत में बाहर का विदेशी सामान आकर कृषि क्षेत्र का उत्पाद आकर सस्ते दामों में बिकने लगेगा तो हिंदुस्तान के किसान बर्बाद हो जाएंगे। आज नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने उन करोड़ों किसानों के साथ धोखा करने का काम किया है, खेत कल्याण के साथ धोखा करने का काम किया है, अन्नदाता के साथ धोखा करने का काम किया है, और इसका पुरजोर विरोध सड़क से लेकर सदन तक हम लोग करेंगे।
2047 तक भारत को विकसित होना है और उस क्षेत्र में ये उपलब्धि बहुत बड़ी है। देखिए, भारत आज अपनी शर्तों पे काम करता है। भारत न तो किसी के सामने आंख झुका के बात करता है, न तो आंख उठा के, हम आंख से आंख मिला के बात करते हैं। और नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नीतियों की विजय हुई है। भारत की अपनी संप्रभुता की, हम अपने शर्तों पे काम करेंगे। और अमेरिका का ये 18% टैरिफ करना आपको ध्यान में रहे, सबको ध्यान में रहे कि बांग्लादेश और कंबोडिया का भी टैरिफ इससे बड़ा है। तो ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है और नरेंद्र मोदी जी के इसको हम लोग उनकी नीतियों का विजय मानते हैं।
All right, and now to decode this further, we are being joined by Chandrama Chatterjee, General Secretary, Confederation of Indian Textile Industry. Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee, for joining us on Republic. I want to ask you, tariffs cut down from 50 to 18%, a big deal between India and US. What kind of impact are we looking at on the textile industry?
I think the biggest that you can look at right after the EU deal announcement, this coming, I think, is the best that the textile and apparel industry could look for. If you would have heard from September onwards, it had been a very difficult time for the textile industry, as the US is around 28 to 30% of India's textile and apparel market, and that too of the extremely value-added goods, which is apparel and made-ups, the top of the pyramid of the textile value chain. So to that extent, it's extremely relevant for trade growth and employment growth in the textile and apparel sector.
Yeah, that's a big one, in fact, given the fact that textiles is a job-intensive, employment-intensive industry, Ms. Chatterjee. The fact that this deal is coming just on the back of the EU deal, and the fact that, more significantly, India is going to have a little better tariff structure vis-a-vis our direct competitors in the textile sector like Bangladesh and Vietnam and Indonesia. You think that it could not have been better, and it's getting reflected in the indices insofar as the textile industry scripts are concerned?
Absolutely, absolutely. As you correctly pointed, it is relative cost advantage that matters most when you are having market access anywhere. And to that extent, today we are the best placed vis-a-vis Bangladesh, Vietnam, China, Indonesia, all the major suppliers to the US. And having had very strong established relationship over the years, it means an immediate jumpstart in the trade flows. So yeah, we couldn't have asked for anything better.
Absolutely. We couldn't have asked for anything better. You know, a sigh of relief there that the period of uncertainty between India and the United States is over. Ms. Chatterjee, just stay with us. I'll come back to you with more questions. But before that, I think we have a breaking news development coming in from Parliament. We are hearing that the government is going to make a statement on the India-US trade deal on the floor of the House in the Lok Sabha, it seems first. And the breakthrough would be announced by Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. Remember, he had to go to Mumbai day before yesterday. He is rushing back now and is likely to speak in the Parliament at 3 p.m. Lok Sabha first, Rajya Sabha next. But the government to make a statement. Remember, the Parliament is in session, and that's why I think that explains the reticence on the part of the government, even as Donald Trump took the lead and made the announcement on his social media handle, Truth Social. The American president can do that, but given the convention-driven and controlled systems in India, when the Parliament is in session, the government cannot but make a statement only on the floor of the House, and that's why Minister Piyush Goyal, who was in Mumbai for a medical procedure, is cutting short his visit to Mumbai and coming back. In the morning, we saw his pictures at Siddhi Vinayak, so I think he was paying his obeisances and respects for the fact that a very difficult period of turbulence between India and the United States is over. And Piyush Goyal is someone who has really shepherded all these trade agreements, including that of with the United States, which is now seeing fruition. But a final statement from the government of India to come at 3 p.m. with the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal heading back from Mumbai to New Delhi and to be in the Parliament. And that's the important, significant development so far as the Parliament proceedings are concerned. Remember, in the morning, the pictures of which are on air, this is the NDA meeting where Prime Minister was felicitated for letting this period of turbulence be behind us and, in fact, to provide the broad guidance and leadership through those difficult times and come out trumps. Literally. Ms. Chatterjee, so in terms of employment and the jobs that the textile sector generates, and in terms of the tariff figures now, in the case of European Union, in fact, many of the tariff lines are going down to zero. In the case of United States, from earlier an average of 11 to 13% to now 18%, but with vis-a-vis competitors, it's still better. You think it could not have been better?
Absolutely. US and Europe are top two destinations. So, of course, in Europe, we are looking at a certain timeline, maybe 6 months, I don't know. We are looking forward to the timeline for the implementation. But for US, what we understand, it's immediate. But of course, we are also looking forward to the official announcement as to what it means in terms of the implementation timeline. It couldn't have been better, mainly because the fashion industry builds on relationship, and that's what we were trying to work very hard towards maintaining. The business continuity with the US had been maintained. The exporters really worked hard since September to maintain the relationship and keep the continuity in the relationship through negotiated deals. Talk so far. So to that extent, I think it's great that now we can go back to business as usual and more. And with the EU, it is more of a sentiment. We all are now preparing, doing our homework for leveraging the FTA that is to come. But in both of this, the best part is not just that they are the biggest market, but there is a very good complementarity in the two countries. While both these countries are good sources of good and strategic raw materials, they are the best markets for our top value products, that is the made-ups and the apparel. In fact, the US is the biggest market, and India is the second largest supplier of a lot of made-up products to the US. So it's a big thing for both sides, I hope.
All right, Ms. Chatterjee, you say it's a big boost in terms of export competitiveness when it comes to textile sector, a sector that is a very labor-intensive sector for India. Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee, for joining us and sharing your inputs. And now, viewers, the much discussed and long-awaited US-India trade deal has finally been announced in a major breakthrough. New Delhi and Washington have announced this historic agreement, which is aimed at ending months of tariff tensions building up between the two economies. Now, viewers, under this deal, the steep tariff imposed on Indian exports will be sharply reduced to 18%. Remember, it is coming down from 50%. So it marks a major de-escalation in the tariff war between the two countries, and the agreement follows several rounds of intense negotiations taking place between the two sides and comes just days after India concluded its landmark deal with the European Union. More in this report. Take a look.
The deal is now done. The much discussed and awaited US-India trade deal has now finally been announced. In a major de-escalation of trade tensions, India and the United States have announced a historic trade deal last night. This after months of multiple rounds of negotiations between the two parties. As part of the deal, the 50% tariffs announced on Indian exports will now be reduced to 18%.
Everything about Trump and trade is erratic, not sensible, not accomplishing any U.S. goals, but better 18% tariffs than 50% tariffs or 500% tariffs. But I wouldn't take at face value any single statement by the U.S. government. I think everything is just complete improvisation, a lot of baloney, a lot of malarkey, but probably somebody has prevailed inside the White House to say, why antagonize India? U.S. has no leverage on India. So none of this is anything other than Trump's delusion that the U.S. is the be-all and end-all of the universe. And so his writ is the command for the whole world. But that's Trump's delusion, that the U.S. market is so big, so consequential, so important that he can get every other country to fall into line.
The finalized agreement with the United States comes just days after India concluded what was called the mother of all deals with the European Union. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has welcomed this decision, reiterating that this new deal will benefit Make in India products. US President Donald Trump further in his statement adds that India will also lower reciprocal tariffs and expand market access, while India would also halt purchases of Russian oil and sharply increase imports of American and Venezuelan goods. The US Ambassador to India, Sergio Gore's statement puts further seal on Trump's announcement. Under the terms of the new deal, India has committed to purchasing over $500 billion worth of US products, spanning from energy, technology, agriculture, coal and other critical sectors. Trump has emphasized that this shift is aimed at ending the Russia-Ukraine war by cutting off indirect financing to Russia. But now the real test will be in delivery on trade flows, energy shifts and geopolitical balance. For now, the message is clear. After months of back and forth, the tariff war is over and a new chapter in US-India trade partnership begins.
And now, viewers, after months of negotiations and rising trade pressure, the long-pending US-India trade deal has been finally sealed with a direct announcement coming in from US President Donald Trump following a call with his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, the announcement also comes less than a week after India and European Union announced a landmark trade deal that capped nearly 2 decades of on and off talks. Here are more details. Take a look.
India has clinched a landmark trade deal with the United States yesterday. US President Donald Trump announced an immediate reduction in reciprocal tariffs on Indian exports. The breakthrough was confirmed following a phone call between US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This brings immediate tariff relief to Indian exporters and signals a reset in bilateral trade relations between the two biggest democracies. Trump's announcement comes shortly after India signed a major free trade agreement with the European Union, a move widely seen as increasing pressure on Washington to close the deal. The India-EU deal, dubbed the mother of all deals and finalized after nearly 2 decades of negotiations, gives India sweeping duty-free access to the European Union's $572.3 billion pharmaceuticals and medical devices market. The US tariff cut also comes a day after India presented its union budget, with key provisions aimed at offsetting the impact of Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian goods. Even as the deal was sealed, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar departed for the United States to attend a ministerial meeting on critical minerals, underscoring the broader strategic engagement underway. The India-US trade talks had slowed significantly since August, when ties took a sharp downturn after Washington imposed a 50% tariff on Indian goods, citing New Delhi's continued purchase of Russian oil. In July, Trump had already announced additional tariffs on all Indian goods, warning of penalties if India continued energy imports from Russia. The impasse finally began to ease after months of negotiations. In September, President Trump publicly expressed hope that the dispute would be resolved soon. And in December, Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke over the telephone, reviewing progress in the India-US partnership. While there was no immediate announcement on trade, both leaders acknowledged discussions on expanding cooperation in critical technologies, energy, defense, security, and trade. In January, US Ambassador Sergio Gore confirmed that the two countries were inching closer to a trade agreement. And yesterday, it was finally announced. The deal not only delivers relief to Indian exporters, but also reinforces India's growing leverage in global trade negotiations.
And now, viewers, the Republic's rolling coverage on the big India-US deal continues. Abhishek, we're expecting a statement from the government. Piyush Goyal is going to make this statement in the Parliament at about 3 p.m. Now, that statement is likely to put to rest the criticism coming from the opposition, saying that the deal was announced in a similar manner as the ceasefire was announced, as a part of Trump's Twitter diplomacy, what we call it.
Well, you see, for one, the President Trump statement is silent on the ceasefire. So perhaps the first time that he has spoken about India and the United States without mentioning the ceasefire in the last couple of months. So that should be one important takeaway. Having said that, of course, there are questions. So, for example, President Trump's post mentions about $500 billion worth of Indian purchases. Some clarity needs to be given on that. So you can expect that when the Commerce Minister takes to the floor of the House in Lok Sabha at 3 p.m., he's going to, throw some light on this. Because remember, India-US trade, which as of now stands at about $140 billion. The target for 2030 was pegged at $500 billion. So that's the entire trade. So how do we purchase $500 billion? Maybe Trump missed the number somewhere here and there, maybe 1-0. But that's about it. I think a lot of clarity would emerge when the Commerce Minister takes to the floor of the House.
Right, of course, Abhishek, we'll have to see when that statement is made by Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal at exactly at 3 p.m. We'll be covering that statement at Republic. And now, viewers, from the phrase of Modi did not call to a deal sealed at a rate lower than most nations, what changed and what flipped and what the world just witnessed in US-India trade diplomacy? Let's have a detailed look at this report about India-US trade deal.
Just weeks ago, it was a public jab from Washington. Modi didn't call. A remark that dominated headlines and framed India as the holdout in stalled trade talks. US Commerce Secretary Lutnick claimed that the proposed India-US trade deal did not materialize because PM Modi did not personally call US President Donald Trump. The statement triggered sharp reactions in Delhi, with India rejecting the narrative and calling it inaccurate.
We have seen the remarks. India and the United States were committed to negotiating a bilateral trade agreement with the US as far back as 13th of February last year, that is. Since then, two sides have held multiple rounds of negotiations to arrive at a balanced and mutually beneficial trade agreement. On several occasions, we have been close to a deal. The characterization of these discussions in the reported remarks is not accurate.
For months, tariffs remained high, pressure mounted, and the impasse looked far from resolution. But yesterday, one phone call changed everything. US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke directly, and suddenly the tone changed. In a major de-escalation of trade tensions, India and US have now announced a historic.
All right, we're getting a breaking news development. The government statement on India-US deal likely at 3 p.m. is what we're getting to hear. Hopefully some clarification on dairy, agriculture, hopefully some clarification on the US dollar $500 billion worth of purchases that Trump says India would make. Hopefully some clarification on the Russian oil issue that has been mentioned by President Trump in his statement. Because remember, Parliament is in session, and that's why we have not heard anyone from the government of India speak as yet, except for briefly, JP Nadda speaking in the Rajya Sabha, but not giving a full statement, only countering the opposition and its narrative. Aishwarya Kapoor, our executive editor, Politics, joins us for more on this. Aishwarya, the government likely to make a statement on the floor of the House at 3 p.m. Who's going to be fielded by the government side? We are hearing Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. Is he going to be back from Mumbai for that?
Well, absolutely. He is already en route, and he's going to be making a statement. Government sources once again confirming that the Indian agricultural sector, the Indian agricultural products will not be compromised under any circumstance. All the measures have been taken. It has been given in black and white in this India-US trade deal, and the same will be stated on the floor of the House by the concerned minister in this regard. Piyush Goyal has been leading the Indian delegation. He has been in the US over half a dozen times in the last 4 months for the same, and now he's going to be making a statement on the floor of the House that specifies, because there is a lot of confusion which is being created by first the American media and then by certain US government official Twitter handles which are being quoted by the Indian opposition leaders, because the only document or the only point on which the Indian opposition is raising is that the American media is raising this issue, that the Indian agriculture sector has been open, to which the government sources are clearly saying that the agriculture and dairy sectors are not going to be opened up. There is going to be no compromise, and the same is going to be stated on the floor of the House. Abhishek, over to you.
Well, yes. Thank you so much, Ashwarya, for joining us with those details. Remember, the announcement by President Trump came immediately after a phone call between the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, and hopefully we would have more details coming out of that on the floor of the House, Ishita, in a while.
Right, of course, that's all we have in this edition, but viewers, don't go anywhere. On the other side, the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in Parliament on the historic trade deal at 3 p.m.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
Hi, good morning
Hi,
to you. Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says I've reduced the tariffs to 18%, and then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims, but the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from the most outlandish actions of this government a few months ago. They made no sense. They antagonized India. They disrupted trade. And I think somebody finally explained to Trump that none of this was serving any American interests at all. And so Trump has backed down to an important extent. Everything about Trump and trade is erratic, not sensible, not accountable.
Republic has the inside scoop from the NDA Parliamentary meeting. PM Modi says India-US trade sign of a new world order.
पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अभिनंदन किया और उनका मार्गदर्शन में जो ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स हासिल किए हैं उसके लिए बधाई भी दी है.
India cheers as the nation locks an historic deal with the United States. MPs congratulate PM Modi for 2 landmark deals just in a week. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in the Parliament on the historic trade deal between India and US. And D Street cheers India-US deal. Market soar 5% on India-US pact. Rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus dollar in early trade after India-US trade deal. right, viewers, we are getting a big breaking news right now at this moment. Air India has begun fleet-wide inspections of the fuel control switches on its Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft. This is the latest development that is coming in the story. Now, the checks carried out so far have not identified any technical irregularities. This is the latest that we are getting, while inspections on the remaining aircraft are ongoing as we are telling you the story, this breaking news, following a reported issue involving a fuel control switch on one of its B787 jets. Now, the airline's engineering division has taken up the matter with Boeing for priority evaluation. So, fleet-wide inspection of fuel switches is happening, has been conducted also for many aircrafts. So this is the latest development that is coming in. Air India has begun its fleet-wide inspections of the fuel control switches on its Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft. Now, the checks are carried out so far. As of now, as we are telling you the story, have not identified any technical irregularities, while inspections on the remaining aircraft are ongoing. All right, for more information, we have Harsha joining live with us. Harsha, what are the latest updates that you're getting on this story? The fleet-wide inspections of the fuel control switch is on for the Boeing 787 Dreamliner jets.
Yes, you rightly pointed out. Since yesterday, we broke the news of the London and the Bengaluru flight where the fuel surge went from run to cut off itself. And in fact, after that malfunction, that snag, the flight came from London to Bengaluru. In fact, in the debate, Mr. Goswami took this question with the experts also, that how could a flight come from and even fly from London to Heathrow, even the pilot, after knowing that there's snag. And after that news yesterday, the regulatory body has taken a serious cognizance of the prelim report and the occurrence report. We got to know that since morning, all the 787 fleet have been grounded and they are being thoroughly checked. The fuel control switch of each and every Boeing fleet from 787-8 and 787-9. These are three major fleets of the Boeing in which the switch control was being checked since morning, and Air India has clearly stated that there was no issue with the fuel switch control has been found in any of their Boeing. In fact, in few of the Boeings, the checks have already been concluded, and in some of them it's underway. But it's very surprising. It is something which as a aviation correspondent, as a journalist, I'm not able to even digest as well, that how come whenever the Air India conducts the inspection, there's no fault or no issue found in the Boeing, but whenever the pilot tries to take off multiple times it has happened, there are certain mechanical, electrical and the fuel faults, which is time and again reported in the log entries by the pilot. And not one pilot. We have spoken to certain pilots of the Boeing fleet. They have every time stated that before taking off the flight, whenever the thorough check is being done, the pre-flight, the issue of the fuel control switch is there. But the Air India comes out with a templated response saying that there's no issue with the fuel switch. And they have also taken up this matter with the Boeing. What Air India has told us right now, that they have also apprised Boeing with the fuel control switch issue. The Boeing will also investigate this. But right now, the major update is that the regulatory bodies have taken the cognizance. The regulatory body has already initiated the investigation in this matter, and they have sought the detailed report from Air India on each and every Boeing fleet. And this time, they can't just take it leniently. Back to you.
Breaking
Right, so we are getting a big breaking news right now at this moment. Big breaking news coming in at this moment on your television screen. And
yes. In fact, this is a big development. Remember, the opposition has been asking questions, trying to put the government on the mat while we wait for a formal statement from the Commerce Minister on the floor of the House at around 3 p.m. We have a big breaking development coming in, which is that government sources tell us that there is no compromise whatsoever insofar as...
All right, so we are getting a big breaking news right now that there will be no compromise on farmers' issue. A big development as per the government sources, and sensitive dairy and agricultural sectors will be are protected in the US deal as per the sources. So this is a very...
I can tell you this is coming in from top sources in the government, Shivam, and we are told that there is no compromise whatsoever on the farmers' issue, that the dairy and the agriculture sector are protected. Yep. So the push that was coming in from the Americans to include dairy and farm sector in the trade deal has been put in abeyance. That's a significant one. Also that India will continue to buy energy and oil from whichever sources depending on market dynamics and market prices. Of course, we will buy non-sanctioned oil. That's the only concession made to the United States in this deal. And so far as purchase is concerned, we are continuing to buy, as of now, about $80 to $90 billion. That can, over a period of years, can go up to $500 billion. That's the Trump figure. But that's not for this year or next year. This is over the next few years. We have a very important guest, President of the CII, Mr. Rajiv Memani, joining us in this broadcast. Shivam, let's go to him. Very good afternoon, sir, for joining us. And Mr. Memani, my first question to you, your first reaction to this big development for India and the United States. It's not just about the corporate sector, but then that remains the cornerstone of the larger partnership.
When you're saying big development, are you talking about the announcement last night or what you just were announcing? I just overheard you when I was on this thing.
Mr. Memani, some video issue there. The video. All right, we're just network issue. We're just fixing it.
Can you
Mr. Memani's.
But Abhishek, this has been the primary concern every time when we talk about any trade deal, any free trade agreement with any country, or whether it be the European Union, whether it be America. It has always been the protection of the farmers' rights, whether it's the dairy industry or the agricultural industry. So this is very important, and this is the biggest news, I believe, that there will be no compromise. There will be no compromise in the dairy sector. There's particularly the farmers' issues, sensitive issues like the dairy and agricultural sectors. That always has required.
You see, there is a reason why so, because the United States has just about 1 million odd farmers. In India, you have, at least 20, 30 times more than that. The size of the farm holding is very small. Ours are essentially small and marginal farmers, and that's why they need to be protected. Mr. Memani is back with us. The audio and the video fixed, connectivity is sorted. Thank you so much, Mr. Memani, for joining us. My question to you was your first reactions. I mean, the markets have shown the kind of exuberance that we are seeing in the Sensex and Nifty. Would you say it's rational, irrational, or absolutely justified?
Hard to comment on the markets, but I would say, firstly, for India, US is the largest trading partner. US is the largest economy in the world. India is the fastest growing economy in the world. And if we looked at our trade, overall last year we had about $85 to $90 billion of trade. And those sectors which were not impacted by tariffs, like electronics and others, they're continuing to show very strong growth. And those which were impacted by the tariffs, which would roughly be about, say, $50 billion or so, there we were starting to see some signs of slowdown because, tariff made it uncompetitive for Indian companies in many cases to be exporting from here. So to that extent, I think it addresses the concern. These are all labor-intensive sectors, as you know, whether it's leather, textiles, garments, gems and jewelry, auto components, engineering and others. So for those sectors, I would say it's particularly positive because they have a they're labor-intensive sectors, they impact quite a few people. But in the overall, if you look at the overall size of the economy, from an overall size of the economy for a $4 trillion economy, is it a very material impact? Probably the answer is no. But the second thing which is important is that the India-US trade deal and the friction on tariff that was there, I think that it created, I would say, disproportionate noise. And there was a lot of, any time you went for any investor interaction, any company interaction, with media, with government, between industry, this used to be the key theme. How will this get? So as this gets settled, I think the Indian economy, which has been the fastest growing economy in the world, doing extremely well, I think this was one question that was there, at least that question also gets cleared. So to that extent, I think there is a positive reaction in the market because this was one sort of hovering cloud that's been removed. The third thing I would say, which is an important one, is that when, at least what we have seen, whenever there have been trade agreements between countries, so whether it's India, Australia, India, New Zealand, Middle East, UK, EFTA, Europe, whenever we have gone and visited as CII those countries, there is much broader interest than just trade and tariff. Industries want to connect. There is cross-border investments that is discussed much more. There's technology transfer that's talked about, and there is a big increase in trade and investments that we see. So as this issue gets cleared up between two of the largest economies in the world, high growth economies in the world, democracies in the world, there are natural complementary relationships. I would say that this will give a great impetus to investments and trade between India and US, even further than what we have seen going forward.
Mr. Memani, the other question is, could you also reply on the timing of this trade deal that is happening? Is this just a reaction on the deal that we had, the India-EU deal? Because the timing is also important. Why did Donald Trump take so much of time? Was he waiting for other free trade agreements with other major nations, especially the EU? It has 27 countries, sir.
I may not be able to comment on that, but I know that there was an active dialogue that was going on. I think the trade ministries of both the governments were actively engaged in dialogue over the last 8, 9 months, 10 months. It may not be, I will not be privy to the reason why not 2 weeks back, why today. That will be hard to say, but even what we picked up in Davos when we were there in the World Economic Forum was that there was a strong sort of push to see how the India-US relationship gets concluded. So the one-off remarks that President Trump made to media, what we also heard in the closed-door meetings with the senior US government officials and others, was that we were very close to doing a trade deal with India. They had some issues, concerns, we had some issues and concerns. So hopefully I think they've got ironed out. Apart from that, I think I may not be able to attribute any reason to the timing.
Okay. Well, my question to you, Mr. Memani, is you were giving a sectoral classification of the impact of the trade deal where there were some adverse consequences now sort of taken care of, creased out. But going forward, you think there are positive spin-offs on sunrise sectors like AI, and that, in fact, it's a two-way deal, and so there could be more American investments in that sector, semiconductors, AI, etc., after the deal?
Yeah, I mean, having said that, so I have to answer your question. If you actually see the commitments that have been made to AI, which is largely through data centers and others, in the last 3 to 4 months has been very, very high. And I think, I forget the name, but India was, US did announce that India is part of the Pax Silica partnership that, yes, that US was looking at. So the AI investments were going, data centers were going very significantly. You saw the GCCs, we were seeing that momentum continue to grow. So I would say those investments were continuing to grow in India. They were not getting impacted by the tariff issues. But as I mentioned earlier, whenever you have something like this, it's in these areas, in other areas of manufacturing, capital goods, other parts of the economy, and including in semiconductors and others, definitely there will be greater interest. Because if there was one question in the minds of people that, can this be expanded, will there be a hindrance later on? I think that gets answered. So when people evaluated investments, they look at all the other things around that. At least that one box also gets ticked.
Right. All right. Mr. Rajiv Memani, thanks a lot for joining us and sharing your insights, your analysis on the latest development between India and US on the trade deal. Thanks a lot. Now we'll continue our mega coverage on this trade deal that we have between India and US, and we have right now Ambassador Deepak Vora joining us. Pretty confident, pretty happy on the deal. Mr. Vora, you seem pretty happy that the deal has taken place after a very long time. Now there have been imposition of tariffs, lots of tariffs, but they have been slashed at a very critical moment, very apt moment, I would like to say. What's your initial take on this?
Well, you can see from my smile, I'm delighted, I'm thrilled. I've served in that country. I love that very much. Both our children live there. I go there every year. Let me begin, if you give me a minute, to tell you that this deal comes at the beginning of the second quarter of this century. So I describe today as Terrific Tuesday. Tuesday, the day dedicated to Lord Hanuman, symbol of courage, strength, and selfless devotion, like Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And it's also dedicated, by the way, to Goddess Kali, so don't mess with me. We can get very tough. The world today is more fractured, more fractious than ever. This agreement underlines our fabled duck diplomacy, quiet, restrained interactions away from the glare of Republic television. So we've had high-level visits, etc. Now, the agreement with the largest economy in the world, after the massive free trade, the conclusion of the negotiations for the free trade agreement with the 27-member EU group, which the President of the European Commission described as the mother of all deals. Sir, I believe this is the father of all deals. And if you take a look at BRICS, we are the only country so far with which this kind of an agreement has been concluded. Therefore, the message is loud and clear. This is Bharat's century, and the partnership between India and the United States will only grow from strength to strength, as the president tweeted, not tweeted, put on the social media. I'm so used to using the word tweet, was unlimited potential. So the only thing that I can say to people who are critics, who pick on this, that, and the other, that trade between the two countries is only one part of the bilateral relationship. We have defense, we have space, we have oceans, we have education, we have agriculture, there's technology coming in, etc., etc. This was one thing. This was the stumbling block. This was perceived as something that was very difficult to overcome, but we have overcome, because we've had this quiet, sustained thing. We haven't responded, sir. And whenever one of Donald Trump's stupid advisors said India is a big laundromat for laundering Russian money, etc., they tried choicest abuses. We didn't respond. That's not our style. We are the children of Chanakya, sir. We respond in a very restrained, measured way without criticizing anybody. I think this is Indian diplomacy at its finest. I have been 52 years practicing diplomacy. I've never felt so proud of our minister, the Prime Minister, and the others who were involved in it. Well done, guys. You make every Indian so proud.
Mr. Vora, you are a diplomat. And restraint comes with the craft, but this really needed extraordinary patience to deal with someone as impromptu, impetuous, impatient as Trump. So in that sense, for Prime Minister Modi and his team, for External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and his team of diplomats in the Ministry of External Affairs, to be really holding on to their horses, not to respond, not to hit back, because it's very tempting in front of cameras to get into this performative diplomacy, particularly when you have the likes of Scott Bessent and Hoover Lutnick coming at you day in and day out. I think it was really a test of Indian diplomacy, and we have literally come up trumps.
Sir, may I just say something? 1966-67, you were not born then. We had famine in India. And our then Prime Minister went to the United States. They said, have you come to beg for food? She came back and she said, never again. So 66, 67, son, both of you kids are too young. We were told not to eat on Mondays. I did not for 104 Mondays. I was 15, sir. 104 Mondays in 66, 67. I didn't eat because we didn't have enough grain. Today, our granaries are full. We can feed the whole world for more than 1 year. Therefore, agriculture, our farmers, for us, are existential because they've made us self-sufficient in food. For the United States, energy and agriculture is not an existential issue. I think Trump's people have explained that to him, that whether the Indian market accepts our agricultural products or not, the trade deal in itself is very good. Leave out this sector. We'll continue to talk about it. We'll continue to talk about dairy. We'll continue to talk about fisheries later. But let's take what we are getting now, which is very, very substantial. So I believe that was it. We were both looking at trying to create a win-win, as they say, situation instead of a lose-lose situation. I think that your channel, which has been consistently supporting the deal between the United States and India, I think that has helped. And of course, Prime Minister gave Donald Trump a verbal peace prize by praising his leadership as vital for global peace, stability, and prosperity. May I just say, Donald Trump responding that Narendra Modi and I are two people that get things done that cannot be said for Modi. That's a very powerful statement to make, that we are both doers, the others are just shouldis, we are the doers. And finally, I'd just like to say this, whatever one says of Donald Trump, He reminds me of that Roman Emperor Caligula 2,000 years ago, when he was told that many people hated him in the countries that he was dealing with or that Rome had conquered. His famous line in Latin was "Odurin dum metuant," let them hate me as long as they fear me. And Donald Trump has understood that love is much better than hatred. And I think the people of India today, whatever he might have said and done, etc., he hasn't hurt our vital interests in any way. We haven't hurt their vital interests. But this trade deal is a recognition that we will now deal with each other as equals and as partners, not in a boss, a client, subsidiary relationship, sir. We have come of age, sir. Let me just put it to you. And I'm glad I'm still alive at 74 to witness this historic moment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vora, for your comments and your insight on the latest developments on the India-US trade deal and the tariffs, which has been slashed to 18%. And a moment of joy and moment of pride for every Indian citizen, especially those who were affected, Abhishek, because of the imposition of tariffs, whether it's be the leather industry or the gems and whatnot. Many industries were badly affected because of the tariffs, and now there will be change, and it will take time. It will take time.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we're going to continue to have this conversation, Shivam. Yes. Slipping into a short break coming up. On the other side, build up to that statement by Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal in the Lok Sabha on the floor of the House. That's at 3 p.m. We are building up to that. Short break.
देगी मिर्च का तड़का अंग अंग फड़का MDH की देगी मिर्च केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है अरे मेरे राजा
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the president's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan article in detail. So what does this article say? This article talks of the 2020 Chinese intrusions, which had culminated in the Galwan incident, in which 19 Indian soldiers had lost their lives. No weapons had been used, but the Chinese had laid an ambush with pointed stones, with baseball bats wrapped.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
झुमका तेरा झुमका नॉट देयर, मेरा काउंटर टॉप टूट जाएगा। तेरा झुमका मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड। प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the president's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल ये रंग दे ये खुशबू दे ये तीखा ये कम पड़े क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Hi, good morning
Hi,
to
how are
you.
you?
Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says, I've reduced the tariffs to 18%. And then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims. But the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from the most outlandish actions of this government a few months ago. They made no sense. They antagonized India. They disrupted trade. And I think somebody finally explained to Trump that none of this was serving any.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Republic has the inside scoop from the NDA Parliamentary meeting. Our Prime Minister Modi says India-US a trade sign of a new world order.
पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अभिनंदन किया और उनका मार्गदर्शन में जो ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स हासिल किए हैं उसके लिए बधाई भी दी है।
India cheers as the nation locks in a historic trade deal with the US. MPs congratulate our Prime Minister for 2 landmark deals in 1 week. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in Parliament on the historic trade deal with the United States. Dalal Street cheers India-US deal. Markets soar 5% after the announcement. Rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus US dollar in early trade after India-US trade deal announcement.
All right, let's begin this with a breaking, Ishita, and it's from that Air India story. The airline has begun inspection of all its 787 fleet, the Dreamliner fleet, in fact. Remember, this is in the backdrop of what happened yesterday on the AI 132 London-Bengaluru flight. Okay, coming out of this, another breaking coming in from Parliament. Rahul Gandhi is speaking on the...
Give it authenticated.
So this is...
Please table it.
Table it, please.
Please table it.
Speaker,
we will examine it and we'll get back to you.
Chairman, right?
And
Chairman, sir, I have authenticated the article.
Please continue on Honorable President's speech.
Yes. So, as I said yesterday, very important matter in the President's speech is the matter of national security and our relationship between us and the Chinese and the Pakistanis. There is a very important matter that is quoted inside this article that I have authenticated, which speaks about the reaction of the Prime Minister and...
Sir, I'm once again... Please. No, sir. One second. Sir. No, once again. Sir, I'm once again requesting you to please restrict yourself to the speech of the Honorable President. I'm requesting LOP to please restrict himself to the speech of the Honorable President.
Let us not mislead the House. Let us clear the confusion. Today also I had requested both Venugopalji and Gauravji also. We are patiently waiting to listen to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. The matter which was referred to just now, yesterday the Chair has given a ruling. On the paper on which he has authenticated, that is tabled in the House. But what I'm saying is, when a ruling has already been given on a matter which he referred yesterday, he can't be quoting same matter again in a pretext of making a reference indirectly. He cannot refer on the same matter. Please continue with your speech, we are waiting, but please avoid referring to a matter which has been settled.
Sir, Honorable Parliamentary Affairs Minister is trying to mislead the House. Of course, he called us, me and Gaurav Gogoi. Sir, please. Sir, when Honorable LOP is standing... Yes, he quoted me. Sir, when Honorable LOP is standing... I want to give a clarification. When Honorable LOP is standing, you are speaking. Please allow me to give a clarification, sir. No. Please allow me. 1 minute. No, sir, when Honorable LOP is standing, you are speaking. 1 minute. Please permit him to speak. Sir, 1 minute. Please permit him to speak. Parliamentary Affairs Minister took my name. You have 1 minute clarification. No, sir. Please permit him to speak. He's already started his speech, sir. He started his speech, sir. Let him speak. Our Speaker, what was the Speaker's ruling yesterday? Don't quote the book, don't quote the magazine. This was the only ruling of the Speaker. No, sir. Please listen to me. He started his speech. So please let him continue. He started his speech. I need a clarification because Parliamentary Affairs Minister quoted me. Honorable, he took my name. Sir, what is, see, you want him to speak or not? This is only for, this house is only for them. What is this? This is not for us. Yes. What is this? This house is only for them. No, once again. Mr. Venugopal, kindly be seated once again. No, listen. No, please listen. What did you say just now? What did you say just now? What is this yar? What is this yar? This is Parliament. This is Lok Sabha. You can't address the chair. You cannot address the chair with yar. What is this yar? No.
You cannot address the chair by saying yeah. No. Please take back your words. You can't say chair yeah. No. You cannot. No. Honorable LOP standing on his feet to speak. You are not allowing him to speak. माननीय राहुल गांधी जी आप बोलिएगा. No. Please allow him to speak. 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 No.
चेयरमैन साहब यार कह दिया तो क्या हो गया? कोई आफत आ गई है?
No, not correct. No. There is a quorum. Not correct. That is not true. There should be a quorum of the House. There should be a quorum of the House. There should be respect to the chair. You should know how to behave. No, not correct. Honorable Rahul ji, please speak. Please continue to speak.
Speaker, sir, if the issue is about me quoting a magazine, which I have authenticated, I am happy not to quote it directly. No problem. But I have to be allowed to speak about it.
Yeah.
Honorable LOP,
you have,
Speaker Rahul Gandhi ji, please listen.
Chairman sir.
You have been given permission to speak on the Honorable President's speech.
I am speaking.
What are you telling? What permission are you telling to LOP?
Speaker sir.
And yesterday.
Sir, Speaker sir. One second. Speaker sir.
Permit him to speak.
Sir.
What is this?
Sir, Speaker, 1 second.
Sir.
Speaker, sir.
Sir, yesterday, Honorable Speaker has given a ruling.
It is not a permission that I am being given, Speaker, sir.
Yeah.
I am not being given a permission.
What is the permission?
I am the leader of opposition of this country. You are not giving me permission. It is my right.
Rule 349. Under Rule 349. No. Honorable Speaker has given a ruling under Rule 349. Under Rule 349, Honorable Speaker has already given a ruling. And if you don't want LOP sir to speak, I'll have to give opportunity to others to speak. If you don't want LOP to speak, I will have to give opportunity to others to speak. No, please listen. I am giving opportunity. ये नहीं चलेगा. Honorable LOP will speak. He can speak. He doesn't require your support. He will speak.
1 second, please. Chairman, sir. Speaker, sir, I am...
Please, 1 second, sir. Please, sir.
Chairman, sir, I am objecting to the word permission. That is not the correct word because I am not given permission by anyone. I am leader of opposition. So I'm just objecting to that.
I have called your name.
Everybody speaks with the permission of the chair.
Please.
Nobody is above the chair.
There was an altercation.
Everybody speaks on the permission of the chair.
Please speak, sir. 1 second. 1 second, sir. Yes, please speak.
Speaker, sir. Our President's address was about the path that India has to chart, the direction in which India has to move. Today, on the world stage, the main issue in international affairs is the conflict between China and the United States. This is central. This is central to our President's address. This is central, as you have seen, to our budget. And all I am saying is I want to make a statement about what happened between China and India and how our Prime Minister reacted to it. Why am I being stopped? Sir, in Ladakh, in eastern Ladakh, there was a conflict. Our soldiers were killed.
I requested Honorable LOP to speak. Repeatedly I made a request to speak on the speech of the Honorable President. Now Manyaniya Shri Naresh Uttam Patel ji. Manyaniya Shri Naresh Uttam Patel ji. Manyaniya Shri Naresh Uttam Patel ji. Sir, I made repeated requests. I made repeated requests to speak on the speech of the Honorable President. Manyaniya Shri Naresh Uttam Patel ji. आप बोलना नहीं चाहते हैं, आप बोलना नहीं चाहते हैं। माननीय श्रीमती शताब्दी राय, माननीय श्रीमती शताब्दी राय, माननीय श्रीमती शताब्दी राय, माननीय श्री DM खातिर आनंद, माननीय श्री DM खातिर आनंद, माननीय श्री GM हरीश बालयोगी जी,
today on behalf of my party Telugu Desam to extend our support to the gracious address delivered by the Honorable President of India. The address presents a confident national roadmap anchored in reform, guided by inclusion and directed towards the long-term objective of building a strong, self-reliant and globally competitive India. The vision of Vikasit Bharat 2047 reflects a fundamental shift in governance philosophy from managing short-term outcomes to shaping India's long-term economic strength, institutional capacity and strategic relevance in global economy. With India's potential growth rate approaching 7%, driven by sustained reforms and historical public investments, we are witnessing the emergence of a new development trajectory. Our national कार्यवाही 3 बजे तक स्थगित जाते हैं।
All right, that was round 2 of Rahul Gandhi trying to muscle in the issue of former Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravne's book, stalled by the Speaker because there is already a ruling that he cannot speak on or quote from an unpublished book. And so Rahul Gandhi there again trying to create pandemonium. The Parliament proceedings have moved on and the Speaker has disallowed yet again for Rahul Gandhi to continue to insist that he can speak from the book. The Parliament proceedings stalled yet again. Remember, there have already been 2 adjournments since morning and it's stuck on whether Rahul Gandhi can complete his motion or his participation in the motion of thanks without referring to the book of General Naravne, on which the Parliament had to be adjourned all day yesterday. Moving on, let's have some breaking news development as we build up to that announcement by the Modi government on the Indo-US trade deal in Parliament at around 3 p.m. Sources say no compromise on farmers' issue. It's a big one because that's what the opposition has been raising since the deal was announced. What happens to the farmers? Sources tell us it's a big one, that there is no compromise whatsoever insofar as farmers' issue is concerned, and the sensitive dairy and agriculture sector is out of bounds for the Indo-US trade deal. And that's a significant takeaway because remember, the United States was trying to muscle in the farmers' issue and particularly the genetically modified crops and soya, and it seems that it is now very clear, as sources tell us, that those two issues were never on the table, and the final deal that's taken shape with the announcement by President Trump also has those sectors really protected. Sensitive dairy, agri sectors protected in the deal. That's a very important takeaway, going by what the government sources have told us on this very important issue being raised by the opposition. More clarity, of course, when the Commerce Minister makes that statement on the floor of the House. In the meanwhile, we have some reactions from the opposition. Let's listen to them.
कल अमेरिका का साथ में जो एग्रीमेंट हुए और जो अनाउंसमेंट हुए टैरिफ में कटौती का, उसको लेकर के देश भर में उत्साह है। पूरा माहौल अच्छा बना है देश में। एक शुभ खबर रात को आधी रात में मिडनाइट में आए, तो आज देशवासियों को भी हमने बधाई दिया है।
टैरिफ उन्होंने लगाया, और टैरिफ अगर कम किया तो ये देश से अब यहाँ की चीजों को हम अगर एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे तो उनके बाजार हमारे लिए खुल गए। तो ये फैसला अगर वही घोषणा कर रहे हैं अपने बाजार के लिए, तो ये भारत के लिए सफलता कितनी बड़ी है। वाकई नरेंद्र मोदी ने पूरे दुनिया में एक वर्ल्ड के स्टेट्समैन की तरह से फैसले हुए हैं।
अमेरिका का ये 18% टैरिफ करना आपको ध्यान में रहे, सबको ध्यान में रहे कि बांग्लादेश और कंबोडिया के भी टैरिफ इससे बड़ा है। तो ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है और नरेंद्र मोदी जी के इसको हम लोग उनकी नीतियों का विजय मानते हैं।
ये समझौता हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों किसानों के साथ विश्वासघात है। न सिर्फ करोड़ों किसानों के साथ, बल्कि अमेरिका का राष्ट्रपति कह रहा है कि अब हिंदुस्तान रूस से तेल नहीं खरीदेगा। यानी कि अमेरिका से अगर आप तेल खरीदेंगे तो महंगा तेल हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों लोगों को खरीदना पड़ेगा। आपने दोहरी मार इस देश के लोगों को दी, विश्वासघात किया इस देश के लोगों के साथ, और इसका पुरजोर विरोध सड़क से लेकर सदन तक हम लोग करेंगे।
डील हमारी डील करने का अनाउंस करेंगे ट्रम्प साहब, वॉर रुकवाने का ऐलान करेंगे ट्रम्प साहब। हम किससे तेल खरीदें और किससे ना खरीदेंगे ऐलान करेंगे ट्रम्प साहब। उनके सारे उत्पाद को फ्री कर दें और उनको टैक्स भर करके हम ट्रेड करें। अब उनके टैरिफ पर ही जिंदा रहोगे क्या? इज्जत भी बची है? नहीं बची है। नहीं, ये डील 39 देशों के साथ डील कौन सी हुई है हमें तो बाहर से पता चल रहा है। डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प प्राइम मिनिस्टर है क्या?
इससे पहले टैरिफ क्या था जब 25% लगा दिया गया था, क्या 18% की था? इससे कई गुना कम था जो टैरिफ लगाया गया। अभी भी 18% जो टैरिफ लगाया गया है, ये अपने आप में प्रशंसनीय उठाता है, क्योंकि इसकी घोषणा भारत सरकार की तरफ से करी बात होती है। ये यूएस के प्रेसिडेंट ने करी है, और लगातार जिस तरह से यूएस का रवैया भारत की तरफ रहा है, वो दर्शाता है कि जो भारत सरकार है वो यूएस जिस तरह से डील करना चाहिए उस तरह से हमारा जो फॉरेन मिनिस्ट्री वो डील नहीं कर पाता।
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it is the biggest headline of the year. India has logged in a major trade breakthrough with the United States, marking a decisive moment in New Delhi-Washington economic ties. Now, the high-stakes deal aimed at boosting market access, easing tariffs and strengthening strategic commerce signals India's growing clout on the global trade table and sets the tone for a new phase of bilateral partnership between the two nations, while we are also showing the tariffs that have been imposed on the other nations by the United States. Those were the graphics that we were showing. Also, PM Modi was felicitated by the NDA leaders for the India-US trade deal, which has been finalized as quoted by Donald Trump and confirmed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, there has been a drastic reduction, and earlier it went on to 50%, and now it has been slashed to 18%, and this was much needed, much awaited, and it happened. And it is a big relief for everyone, especially the traders, and for various sectors that includes the leather industry, the gem industry, and many other industries. Now, Goyal will be likely to speak on the trade deal in Parliament at around 3 p.m. And this is the exact moment. You can see everybody is happy, everybody is cheering because the deal has been finalized with the United States, and this has officially come from Donald Trump, who was on a tariff tirade tirade, who imposed tariffs on many nations, and many other nations have a very high tariff compared to India now because the tariffs have been slashed when it comes to Indian economy. And we'll have to wait for the details and the nitty-gritties of what exactly will be in the trade deal. But surely the India-EU trade deal, the free trade agreement, had an impact, and it made the Donald Trump government to push and move faster and have and close a free trade agreement, have an agreement with the Indian government. All right, viewers, the much discussed and long-awaited US-India trade deal is finally announced. Now, in a major breakthrough, New Delhi and Washington have announced a historic agreement aimed at ending months of tariff tensions. Now, under the deal, the steep tariff imposed on Indian exports will now be sharply reduced to merely 18%. That's a drastic reduction, marking a significant de-escalation in the tariff war between the two countries. Now, the agreement follows several rounds of intense negotiations and comes just days after India concluded its landmark trade pact with the European Union. That is the mother of all deals. More in this report.
The deal is now done. The much discussed and awaited US-India trade deal has now finally been announced. In a major de-escalation of trade tensions, India and the United States have announced a historic trade deal last night. This after months of multiple rounds of negotiations between the two parties. As part of the deal, the 50% tariffs announced on Indian exports will now be reduced to 18%.
Everything about Trump and trade is erratic, not sensible, not accomplishing any U.S. goals, but better 18% tariffs than 50% tariffs or 500% tariffs. But I wouldn't take at face value any single statement by the U.S. government. I think everything is just complete improvisation, a lot of baloney, a lot of malarkey, but probably somebody has prevailed inside the White House to say, why antagonize India? India has U.S. has no leverage on India. So none of this is anything other than Trump's delusion that the U.S. is the be-all and end-all of the universe. And so his writ is the command for the whole world. But that's Trump's delusion, that the U.S. market is so big, so consequential, so important, that he can get every other country to fall into line.
The finalized agreement with the United States comes just days after India concluded what was called the mother of all deals with the European Union. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has welcomed this decision, reiterating that this new deal will benefit Make in India products. US President Donald Trump further in his statement adds that India will also lower reciprocal tariffs and expand market access. While India would also halt purchases of Russian oil.
ये हिंदुस्तान की जनता को सोचना है, मगर इतिहास में पहली बार हिस्ट्री में एलओपी को प्रेसिडेंशियल एड्रेस में नहीं बोलने दिया।
बाहर बोल दीजिए, जो अंदर नहीं कहा दिया जा रहा है। बाहर
वो तो ऑटोमेटिकली होगा जी। बट ये आप समझिए, और हिंदुस्तान के जो किसान हैं आप सब समझिए कि इस ट्रेड डील में आपकी मेहनत को, आपके खून पसीने को नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने बेच दिया है। और वो इसलिए बेचा है क्योंकि ये कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड है। सिर्फ आपको नहीं बेचा है, देश को बेचा है। इसलिए मुझे वहां नहीं बोलने देना है। नरेंद्र मोदी जी डरे हुए हैं क्योंकि जिन लोगों ने उनकी इमेज बनाई है वो अब उस इमेज को फोड़ने लगे हैं।
धन्यवाद।
प्रेशर है सर पीएम पे, जो आप कह रहे हैं कि प्रेशर क्या है और क्या दबाव है पीएम के ऊपर जो आपको
एक अदानी जी पर केस है यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में। वो अदानी जी को टारगेट नहीं कर रहा है, वो नरेंद्र मोदी के फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रक्चर को टारगेट कर रहा है। एक वो है। दूसरा है एप्स्टाइन फाइल्स। एप्स्टाइन फाइल्स में अभी और माल है, वो अभी रिलीज नहीं हुआ है। इसीलिए इस दबाव में आकर एप्स्टाइन फाइल्स में जो है, जो पूरा देश जानना चाहता है मगर अभी अमेरिका ने रिलीज नहीं किया है, और दूसरा जो अदानी जी पर केस है, जो एक्चुअली मोदी जी पर केस है, क्योंकि वो बीजेपी का फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रक्चर है, मोदी जी का फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रक्चर है। तो ये दो प्रेशर पॉइंट्स हैं, और आप ये बात समझ लो, देश ये समझ ले कि प्रधानमंत्री कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड है।
थैंक यू। आप सीधी चुनौती देती है प्रधानमंत्री को बात करने की?
All right, so this was the reaction from the Congress party, that is the leader of opposition, and Rahul Gandhi. And the opposition pretty much seems again upset even after the tariffs were slashed to 18%. They were unhappy when the tariffs were raised. Now still they are unhappy when they have been slashed, and they are still questioning the government while the fine print is yet to be finalized. It has to come, and then there will be reaction. But don't go anywhere. Coming up next, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in Parliament on the historic trade deal. Coming up next.
सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप। थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the president's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan article in detail. So what does this article say? This article talks of the 2020 Chinese
and a very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Republic TV at 2:30 p.m. with me, Arna Mitra. I'm being joined in the studios by colleague Shivam Dutt Mehra. Ladies and gentlemen, tensions are running high in Parliament after India sealed the historic trade deal with the United States. Lots of responses that are coming in from the opposition, Shivam, and clearly they are not amused.
They will never be amused, and they're pretty unhappy. They were unhappy when the tariffs were being raised, and they were asking for answers. They were asking for answers from the government. Why are you not responding to what Donald Trump is doing? And now when the tariffs have been slashed, they're still answering. They're still questioning the government on why it has been slashed and what are the main points of the trade deal. We'll get you all the details on what the political reactions are and what's happening in the India-US trade deal and a lot more. But first up, the headlines. Republic has the inside scoop from the NDA Parliamentary meeting. PM Modi says India-US trade sign of a new world order.
पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अभिनंदन किया और उनका मार्गदर्शन में जो ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स हासिल किए हैं उसके लिए बधाई भी दी है.
India cheers as the nation locks in historic deal with the United States. MPs congratulate Prime Minister Modi for 2 landmark deals in just 1 week.
Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in Parliament on the historic trade deal very soon.
D Street cheers on India-US deal. Markets soar 5% on the India-United States pact.
And rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus dollar in early trade after India-US trade deal.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is the biggest headline of the year. India has locked in a major trade breakthrough with the United States, marking a decisive moment in New Delhi-Washington economic ties. Now, this high-stakes deal is aimed at boosting market access, easing tariffs and strengthening strategic commerce, essentially signaling India's growth clout on the global trade table. And this, Shivam, as Prime Minister was saying, is setting the tone for a new phase of bilateral partnership between the two nations. This deal will see US tariffs on Indian goods being reduced from 25% to 18%, effective immediately. This morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was facilitated by NDA lawmakers in Parliament for securing the deal. And in that meeting, Prime Minister has sent out a clear and strong message outlining the importance of this development. He spoke of how a new world order is emerging. We take a look at that entire sequence of what exactly happened when Prime Minister Modi entered for the NDA parliamentary meeting.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
So definitely that's a sigh of relief for each and everybody. Now, even as the world looks towards India, as Prime Minister emphasized in the new global order, the opposition parties of India are clearly not amused. They're never happy. Now, they have now stoked this narrative saying, with no clarity on the minute perks of the deal, India has bowed down to Trump. Let's listen in.
ये समझौता हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों किसानों के साथ विश्वासघात है। न सिर्फ करोड़ों किसानों के साथ, बल्कि अमेरिका का राष्ट्रपति कह रहा है कि अब हिंदुस्तान रूस से तेल नहीं खरीदेगा। यानी कि अमेरिका से अगर आप तेल खरीदेंगे तो महंगा तेल हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों लोगों को खरीदना पड़ेगा। आपने दोहरी मार इस देश के लोगों को दी, विश्वासघात किया इस देश के लोगों के साथ, और इसका पुरजोर विरोध सड़क से लेकर सदन तक हम लोग करेंगे।
डील हमारी डील करने का अनाउंस करेंगे ट्रम्प साहब, वॉर रुकवाने का ऐलान करेंगे ट्रम्प साहब, हम किससे तेल खरीदें और किससे ना खरीदेंगे ऐलान करेंगे ट्रम्प साहब, उनके सारे उत्पाद को फ्री कर दें और उनको टैक्स भर करके हम ट्रेड करें। अब उनके टैरिफ पर ही जिंदा रहोगे क्या? इज्जत भी बची है? नहीं बची है। नहीं, ये डील 39 देशों के साथ डील कौन सी हुई है हमें तो बाहर से पता चल रहा है। डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प प्राइम मिनिस्टर है क्या?
इससे पहले टैरिफ क्या था जब 25% लगा दिया गया था, क्या 18% की था? इससे कई गुना कम था जो टैरिफ लगाया गया। अभी भी 18% जो टैरिफ लगाया गया है, ये अपने आप में प्रथम चिन्ह उठाता है, क्योंकि इसकी घोषणा भारत सरकार की तरफ से करी बात ये यूएस के प्रेसिडेंट ने करी है। और लगातार जिस तरह से यूएस का रवैया भारत की तरफ रहा है, वो दर्शाता है कि जो भारत सरकार है वो यूएस जिस तरह से डील करना चाहिए उस तरह से हमारा जो फॉरेन मिनिस्ट्री वो डील नहीं कर पाता।
All right, viewers, you heard over there. It's embarrassing that the opposition parties of this country are politicizing the matter, even going on to say that India has bowed down to the Donald Trump administration. But the NDA is not backing down. In fact, we are building up to that big statement by the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, which is scheduled at about 3 p.m. this afternoon. But before that, let's also listen into what the other NDA leaders have to say on this historic deal.
कल अमेरिका का साथ में जो एग्रीमेंट हुए और जो अनाउंसमेंट हुए टैरिफ में कटौती का, उसको लेकर के देश भर में उत्साह है। पूरा माहौल अच्छा बना है देश में। एक शुभ खबर रात को आधी रात में मिडनाइट में आए, तो आज देशवासियों को भी हमने बधाई दिया है।
टैरिफ उन्होंने लगाया और टैरिफ अगर कम किया तो ये देश से अब यहाँ की चीजों को हम अगर एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे तो उनके बाजार हमारे लिए खुल गए। तो ये फैसला अगर वही घोषणा कर रहे हैं अपने बाजार के लिए, तो ये भारत के लिए सफलता कितनी बड़ी है। वाकई नरेंद्र मोदी ने पूरे दुनिया में एक वर्ल्ड के स्टेट्समैन की तरह से फैसले हुए हैं।
अमेरिका का ये 18% टैरिफ करना आपको ध्यान में रहे, सबको ध्यान में रहे कि बांग्लादेश और कंबोडिया का भी टैरिफ इससे बड़ा है। तो ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है और नरेंद्र मोदी जी के इसको हम लोग उनकी नीतियों का विजय मानते हैं।
So these were the political reactions coming in. Now, India's landmark trade deal with the US marks a historic milestone as ARIN Capital Chairman Mohan Pai provides expert insights.
Oh, absolutely, Shivam. In fact, Mohan Pai analyzes, viewers, the key sticking points like high tariffs, India's Russia ties, and Prime Minister Modi's direct talks with President Trump to unlock this much-awaited stalled agreement amid a 25% tariff threats. Now, expect sharp commentary on export impacts, Piyush Goyal's negotiations, and strategies, Shivam, that has paved the way for India's growth story.
Mr. Pai, thank you very much for joining us. We have a big day, a historic announcement. India-US trade deal has been made. Your first reaction to this late-night announcement, sir?
Well, I think it's a typical Trump. President Trump will make a deal at a time of his own choosing, on terms of his own choosing, and he has done it. And all of us must understand we're dealing with a very different kind of a global leader, which is the strongest military power, economic power in the world, and he can do what he wants, right? He doesn't care. And I think we have dealt with him very well, and it's typical Trump. So I think he came on the phone, spoke to Prime Minister Modi and said, I'm going to reduce it to 18%, let's make a deal, that is it. And immediately tweeted and said it comes into effect immediately. So I think it's a good for India, but you see, you must understand his logic. All his allies, EU, Japan, Korea have 15%. Everybody else has 19, 20%. India has 18%. What is the message? India is our friend, one level below the allies with whom we have a military partnership. So I think it's a good deal for India. And of course, we have a deal on the table which we already agreed to. We allow them to open up the market, reduce tariff is already there on President Trump's table. I hope that is signed so India can sign. And I hope the government will release terms of the deal once President Trump signs so that we have a deal and it becomes transparent. And I think the deal will be very good for India. Indian industry should take advantage and go all out to do more business with India. And it is good for us to open a market to the United States. It's the largest market in the world. It's the largest market in the world. China grew and became a global power by using the American market. We must also use the American market to become a much larger economy.
Right. Mr. Pai, in fact, whatever announcements have come in from Donald Trump. I mean, he said that India's buying oil from Venezuela. He said that India stopped buying from Russia. He said that India will be doing a business worth $500 billion with India. But the response from the Indian side has been extremely measured. Do you think the Indian decision makers are taking it with a pinch of salt and probably waiting for the fine print?
No, I mean, look, Russian oil has been coming down. And quite probably will come down to very low numbers because one Indian company has got permission to buy till February. And so it is coming down, is a fact. We don't have to make any announcement. Second is Venezuelan oil we want. Prime Minister spoke to the acting president of Venezuela, and our refineries can can process the heavy crude of Venezuela. Venezuela is not sweet crude, it's heavy crude. Only few refineries in the world can do it, and we can do it. So if we have Venezuelan crude at a deep discount against Russian, we are well off, because we have said we'll buy from the market which gives us best. And the third thing is this 500 billion is Trump's target over a number of years. We have our trade, our entire imports from the United States today is about 45-50 billion, right? And I think, it'll take us maybe 5-6 years. We'll buy more aircraft, we'll buy more US oil, which is very competitive. We may buy some pulses from the US. We buy almonds from California. We'll sell software to California, buy almonds from them. So I think this is just a broad parameter that Trump has said, because Trump wants to prove to Americans he's the best deal maker they ever had, and he looks at large numbers. Because for India, 500 billion looks very huge. For America, it is very, very small.
Right. When it comes to India Inc., I mean, we witnessed the past few quarters were definitely under pressure. When do you think, I mean, when are we likely to see the real impact of this deal translating into India Inc.'s profits, India Inc.'s guidance, the order book, and in turn, reflecting that in the results as well as EPS? When do you think that will actually start translating into some kind of measurable outcome on ground, sir?
Well, assuming that the 18% is signed applicable right now, and President Trump has said is immediate, possibly by March, April, so this quarter end, we may see some greater exports to the United States. And I think definitely the first quarter of the next year, financial year, we'll see the full impact because it takes time to produce, time to export. And even now when people are exporting, because they've not seen a big decline in export to America, we can possibly increase export by 10-15% from what we're doing right now, because there will be something in the pipeline. So I think March will see some impact, and we'll see the impact next quarter. And I think that's what Baba Kalyani has said too, right? Baba Kalyani came on TV today and said that, yes, it's very positive. We'll increase it by March, and the next quarter we'll see a bigger increase, and next year is going to be a very good year.
All right, viewers, it's time to slip into a short commercial break. But Ayana, we have a lot more lined up in our action-packed bulletins.
Oh, absolutely, Shivam. We are building up to that big statement by Piyush Goyal in Parliament. The action right now, ladies and gentlemen, is happening in Parliament. We are tracking a lot more responses that are coming in on the historic India-US trade deal. Stay on with Republic.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी। अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने, सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
Hi, good morning
Hi,
to you. Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says, I've reduced the tariffs to 18%. And then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims, but the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
All right, viewers, welcome back. While exporters are celebrating and markets responded positively, chaos has erupted in Parliament over the India-US trade deal. Now, ruckus was created by the opposition members in Rajya Sabha after Union Minister JP Nadda addressed the House on the trade deal and how US President Donald Trump called Prime Minister Modi a great man.
मैं फिर से रिकॉर्ड पर लाना चाहता हूं कि ये जो इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस है और ये जो इंडी गठबंधन है, इनका जो व्यवहार है वह बहुत ही निंदनीय है और वह एक तरीके से इस बात को प्रतिलक्षित करता है कि न तो उनको देश के विकास में इंटरेस्ट है, न ही देश के ट्रेड और हमारा व्यापार बढ़े इसमें इंटरेस्ट है। उनका इंटरेस्ट सिर्फ हर चीज में राजनीति करने का है, जो अभी हमको प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण मिला है। आप देश में एक वातावरण बनाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि सरकार कुछ छुपा रही है, सरकार चर्चा नहीं करना चाहती। अरे आपके पास मुद्दे नहीं रह गए, यू आर इशूलेस पार्टी नाउ, यू हैव गॉट नो इशू। और मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि आपका बड़ा गैर जिम्मेदाराना व्यवहार है, इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर है और ये एक तरीके से गैर राष्ट्रवादी व्यवहार है। इसको भी हमको ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। इट इज एंटी नेशनल, इनको नेशन से कोई लेना देना नहीं है। ये आज ऐसे मुकाम पर आकर के पहुंचे हैं जहां इनका फ्रस्ट्रेशन हर मोड़ पर दिख रहा है।
ये ट्रेड डील हमने की है या डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने माई वे और हाईवे के आधार पर किया। किसी चीज पे 2-3% था, उसको 50 ले गए, फिर
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you this explainer wherein we talk about the lead up to this deal. My colleague Hina will take you through those big names who spent months between India, US negotiating the deal. Let's watch it.
So we have seen that India has secured a trade deal with United States, another trade deal in past 2 weeks. First, we secured a trade deal with European Union, which is called mother of all deals, and nowadays after a deal with Donald Trump, which is 18% tariff on India. But I want to give you a comparison of all the tariffs that US has imposed on other nations as well. Let's talk about Pakistan first. We have seen Shehbaz Sharif and Asim Munir presenting a box of rare earth minerals to Donald Trump. Of course, this did not work out because Pakistan was imposed a tariff of 19% by United States, but India got 1% less, which is 18%. So, of course, a big diplomatic win for India. If you talk about other nations, Bangladesh got 20% tariffs from United States, Brazil at 50%, China 47%, Switzerland 39%, Canada 35%, South Africa 30%, Mexico 30%, Japan and South Korea both at 15%. So this is a big win for India, a big diplomatic win. India does not come in the top 10 high tariff nations vis-a-vis US. India gets only 18% tariff. And of course, not to forget, we are seeing on 4th of February a conference, a global minerals conference happening. But United States has not invited Pakistan to attend that particular conference. External Affairs Minister of India, S. Jaishankar, is all set to go there. So of course, a big failure for Pakistan and a big diplomatic win back home here in India for Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
All right, viewers, we slip into a very short break on that note, but do stay on with us because in just about in 10 minutes, we expect the government to make a statement in Parliament on the trade deal with Piyush Goyal leading from the front. Stay with us.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा प्योर मसाला।
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the President's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan article in detail. So what does this article say?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा राजा और प्योर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Hi, good morning
Hi, how
to
are
you.
you?
Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says, I've reduced the tariffs to 18%. And then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion. So there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims. But the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from.
All right, viewers, coming up next, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in Parliament on the historic trade deal shortly. Coming up.
Our Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग स्टिक भी बन सकती है।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the president's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan.
देगी मिर्च का तड़का अंग अंग फड़का
MDH की देगी मिर्च केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है, अरे मेरे राजा।
Hi, good morning
Hi, how
to
are
you.
you?
Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says, I've reduced the tariffs to 18%. And then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims. But the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from the most outlandish actions of this government a few months ago. They made no sense. They antagonized India. They disrupted trade. And
from Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
All right, viewers, a very warm welcome. You're watching the Republic TV. This is Shivam Dutt Mehta, and in this bulletin, our top focus will be the India-US trade deal, which has been finalized, and the tariffs, which have also been slashed to 18%. Now, that is a drastic reduction and a very positive and welcome step by the US government. Especially, this has been confirmed by Donald Trump and also confirmed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But we are getting a lot of reactions on this, political reactions, and the opposition is pretty much upset and they want to know what's inside the deal. We'll get you a lot more on this. But first up, the headlines. Republic has the inside scoop from the NDA Parliamentary meeting. PM Modi says India-US trade a sign of a new world order.
पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी में आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अभिनंदन किया और उनका मार्गदर्शन में जो ऐतिहासिक ट्रेड डील्स हासिल किए हैं उसके लिए बधाई भी दी है.
India cheers as the nation locks an historic deal with the US. MPs congratulate PM for 2 landmark deals in 1 week. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is likely to make a statement in a short while in the Parliament on the historic trade deal between India and the United States. And the street cheers India-US deal, market soar 5% on the India-US pact. Alright, now rupee jumps to 90.4, up 1.2% versus dollar in early trade after India-US trade deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the biggest headline of the year. India has logged in a major trade breakthrough with the United States, marking a decisive moment in New Delhi-Washington economic ties. Now, the high-stakes deal aimed at boosting market access, easing tariffs and strengthening the strategic commerce signals India's growing clout on the global trade table and sets the tone for a new phase of bilateral partnership between the two nations. Now, the deal will see US tariffs on Indian goods being reduced to merely 18% effective immediately. Now, this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was felicitated by NDA lawmakers in the Parliament. We're also showing you graphics on how we have the lowest tariffs in the region. All right, let's move on to Kiran Rijiju, who is speaking in Lok Sabha.
Having been named by the chair, resolved that the above-mentioned members may be suspended from the services of the House for the remainder of the session under Rule 3742.
प्रश्न यह है कि श्री किरेन रिजिजू द्वारा प्रस्तुत प्रस्ताव को स्वीकृत किया जाए. जो सदस्य प्रस्ताव के पक्ष में है वो हाँ कहे, जो सदस्य प्रस्ताव के विपक्ष में वो ना कहे. मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत हुआ. प्लीज बी सीटेड. नो. सभा की कार्रवाई बुधवार दिनांक 4 फरवरी 2026 को प्रातः 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है.
All right, so House is adjourned yet again, and this was Kiran Rijiju who was speaking now. This day also, the opposition pretty much upset, wasn't reacting positively and questioning the deal that has taken place and questioning what are the details of the deal that has taken place between India and the United States. Now, this is the same opposition that was previously questioning on why there has been why tariffs have been imposed by the United States of America on India. When Donald Trump was on a tariff tirade, he was imposing tariffs on all the nations which, as per him, were not moving as per his terms. And also, there were visuals. We'll show you visuals where papers were hurled, papers were thrown. There was a lot of ruckus that happened in the Parliament. We'll also show you the visuals of that. There was ruckus in the Parliament, especially by the opposition leaders, and the opposition created a ruckus, and even they threw papers on the chair. They reached the well of the House, and they were raising slogans. And after raising slogans, they even threw papers towards the Speaker. Now, this is uncalled for, this kind of behavior by the opposition. So the opposition is reacting very negatively towards the India-US trade deal. They also wanted to have a conversation on the trade deal also. They want a debate on the trade deal also. They want to know what is the fine print of the deal, what are the nitty-gritties, what are the details, what are we gaining, what are we losing. And Rahul Gandhi is again accusing Narendra Modi that we have succumbed to what Donald Trump wanted, and this is not something that is victorious for us now. All right, so this is big. Now the Congress MPs, unruly Congress MPs have been suspended for throwing papers. Biggest development, unruly Congress MPs suspended for throwing papers. Big news that is coming in. Unruly Congress MPs suspended. The unruly Congress MPs have been suspended for throwing papers. The chaos that was created in the parliament, and this is the reaction. The Congress MPs have been suspended. Biggest development coming in. The unruly MPs have been suspended. The Congress MPs were protesting, and they were sloganeering, and they were while protesting, they even hurled through papers towards the chair. And this cannot be tolerated, and this wasn't tolerated. So action was necessary, action was deemed, and action has been taken. The unruly Congress MPs have been suspended for disobeying the chair. All right, so these are the pictures. The House has been adjourned also, but these are the pictures. These are the pictures where you can see how papers were thrown towards the chair. Towards the chair, the papers were thrown, and this is being done by the Congress MP, by the opposition. All right, so we have Harsha for more details on this issue. Pretty unruly behavior, Harsha. As you can see, we can see on our television screens, the Congress MPs, and especially the opposition MPs, first of all, they were pretty unhappy on what's happening between India and US. They are not happy with the deal, and now they're hurling papers, they're throwing papers towards the chair. This is disrespect, utter disrespect.
He pointed out utter disrespect of the chair, and it's not the one time, but also this the visual which we are showing where on the chair there's Dilip Sekia, and this is the second time when the papers were thrown. Before this on the chair was Krishna Tinati, and the papers were hurled at him as well. And the second time, and also Kiran Rijiju, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, moved motion in front of the Speaker in the Parliament as it resumed at 3 o'clock. He clearly stated that all the MPs who stood on the table of the Secretary General facing the Speaker and doing the ghirao of the Speaker, they all should be suspended for this entire session. If you hear the Lok Sabha proceeding, the clearly Kiran Rijiju stated that all the unruly Congress MPs should be suspended for the entire session, and they are not one or two but almost 6 Congress MPs. Let me tell you the name of the MPs who stood on the table of the Secretary General. Those MPs were Amar Singh, Bibi Aden, Manikam Tagore, Gurjeet Singh Aujla, Raja Waring. These were all the MPs who stood on the table of the Secretary General, ghirao the Speaker, and also at that time also the placards were torn, all the papers were torn and thrown at the Speaker. And then the second time when it resumed, and therefore Kiran Rijiju stated that the motion is being moved to suspend them for the entire session, which the Speaker has accepted. The Speaker is sit on this time on the chair is Dilip Sekia. He has accepted the motion, and all these unruly MPs of the Congress have been suspended. To tell you, these are the visuals of the disruption and chaos which the opposition party leaders and mainly the Congress party leaders are doing inside the parliament. Today itself, Kiran Rijiju stated that please, the opposition has to let the House run smoothly. But again and again, Rahul Gandhi and the Congress leaders are creating such ruckus and the chaotic scenes inside the parliament. If you remember, today at around 3 o'clock, before the parliament resumed, there was one of the leaders who addressed the chair as yard. What's this language, yaar? There's a chair at that time of the chair. There was Krishna Tinati, sir, and he clearly stated this is not the kind of language which is addressed to the chair. The chair is not the yaar to the Congress party leaders. They have to behave like the MP. They have to behave like they are the leaders in the parliament. And such disrespectfulness towards the chair is not something new from the side of the Congress party. Each and every session is chaotic and disrupted, and full disruption because of the opposition party leaders. And right now, also what we see, and therefore the Lok Sabha has been adjourned till tomorrow. Let me tell you, such a waste of money of the common taxpayers. Every day, the leaders are coming here. The session has to go on. There's a motion of thanks on the president address. The leaders are not getting time. This was the second day on the president address. Rahul Gandhi wasted it for just like twice adjournment. Shatabdi Roy from TMP denied speaking. Naresh Uttam from the Samajwadi Party denied speaking when the speaker called him. Kathir Anand from the DMK party also denied the chance of speaking on the president address, and then TDP leaders spoke on that. So can you see how much is this waste of the time? This is second day. 3 days have been allotted, 18 hours have been allotted for the leaders to speak on the president address. And this is such a waste of the money of the taxpayers and the chaos and disruption which is being created and caused by the Congress leaders. And that's the reason now when the suspension motion has been accepted by the chair and the unruly Congress MPs have been suspended. Will they be suspended for the entire session? This is what we'll get to know more. But yes, the motion was moved to suspend them for the entire session so that the House could run smoothly for the budget debate and discussion coming days as well. Back to you.
This has been a trend, Harsha, isn't it? Even during the monsoon session, we saw that even TMC MPs, they had torn the bill when Amit Shah had tabled them. In fact, threw that paper at Amit Shah. And now this time around, again, we see the Congress leaders being suspended, Congress MPs being suspended there. The problem now here comes in is that they are fixated on an issue which has no holding as far as the parliament is concerned, as far as the president's address is concerned. There has to be an action taken, and the message should be sent across very, very clearly that there is no business of him raking up, issues of that is a part of something that is not even published yet. And to make a ruckus out of it, to stall the proceedings and then resort to, misdemeanor, to resort to indiscipline, a harsh, because this has become a trend. This has become a trend from the opposition MPs. There needs to be an example set that such things, they have to be penalized in a way that such things do not happen again. And the exchequer's money is not, wasted this time every session.
You rightly pointed out, there's a calculated attempt. The last winter session, if you see the monsoon session, each and every session, every time there's some issue with Rahul Gandhi, the LOP in the Lok Sabha from the side of the Congress party comes up with. One time it was Hindenburg, one time it was Rafael, one time it was Judge Loya case. By time and again, Congress party comes up with the issue that doesn't hold any domain in the public sphere, which doesn't hold anything with the business and the proceeding of the House. They stall the parliament every time. The winter session went like that, and this is a budget session, very important budget session, and the president and the motion of thanks for the president address each and every session goes to
right
stall
now,
because of the
Harsha, just stay on with us. We are just cutting across to Mamata Banerjee, who's speaking right now as she is in the national capital.
Regulation, the statutory rules that the role observer in the name of BJP officers and 8,100 micro observers. They are not listening to DEO, ERO, AERO. They have kept one logo separately. From there, they are going to delete all the names, about 2 crores. Now we 58 lakhs already deleted. Now 1 crore 4 lakhs is what earlier it is said logical discrepancies when Supreme Court said that list should be there, proper list. After that they changed the name like this, mismatch, mismap, like this. Suppose I want to tell you one thing. Notice hearing, हाथ तुलून, SIR कैसे? Raise your hand. हाँ. Now, my question is, these role observers, they don't have any action. They don't have any role to play at this time, the SIR process. as per RP Act. But they became the real master. And they have been deputed, backdoored from the BJP party, but front door, of course, the Election Commission. I don't blame all the Election Commission officials because I respect the chair. But if somebody works only for his master's voice, or just like parrot, and don't maintain the institution impartially, vindictively they delete the name of the people, the voters. Everybody is raising this question. Bengal media, every day, all the...
I go across to the Parliament once again now. Rahul Gandhi is now leading a protest after the MPs were suspended and sloganeering now in the complex that's right outside the main building of the Parliament. And you can see Deepinder Hooda, you see Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, several other leaders of the Congress party and the opposition over there. 6 of the Congress MPs have been suspended. They attempted to, climb the table, and then they threw the paper at the speaker. This is the ugly scene that actually unfolded, and now the Congress party is going on to protest against the action that has been taken on their unruly MPs. Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and all other leaders, KC Venugopal, the other MPs, you can see all of them there. They are present outside that Parliament main building at one of the exit points, and now they are raising slogans in protest against the unruly lawmakers, those who were behaving and compromising the dignity of the Parliament. And it seems that they support that behavior of the parliamentarians. Lok Sabha has been adjourned, ladies and gentlemen, amid the ruckus, as has been a trend every day of every session. All because of disruption, unruliness of the opposition, once again, that has been witnessed today. And the same tune that has been sung by the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, and then entire ruckus unfolds, chaos unfolds, sloganeering in the Parliament and now outside the Parliament. Papers are hurled at the Lok Sabha chair and Congress MPs are suspended. Harsha continues to join us live in the broadcast. Harsha, now we are seeing that the Congress party is now leading Rahul Gandhi is leading a protest for what? For the suspension of unruly MPs?
Rakshita, you rightly pointed out, for the unruly MPs, and in the visual along with Rahul Gandhi, there are all those MPs who stood on the table of the Secretary General. You imagine the table of the Secretary General, these 8 members of Parliament stood on the table, gheraoing the speaker. They gherawed the speaker so that the speaker couldn't conduct the proceedings of the House. And today, they have been suspended for the entire session. And Rakshita, I would like all our viewers, because we have already told who are these 8 MPs, in total 8 MPs, only with Republic, the names of the MPs we have. In total, 8 MPs have been suspended for the entire session. Kiran Rijiju, Parliamentary Affairs Minister, came up with the motion of the suspension of these MPs for the entire session, which the chair accepted at that time, and the chair clearly stated that yes, they are now suspended for the entire Parliament session. They have been suspended for the session, and that's the reason why Rahul Gandhi, along with the other leaders, is right now holding the protest at the Makar Dwar of the Parliament. And Rakshita, these visuals are from the Makar Dwar of the Parliament, where Rahul Gandhi is staging protests with Gurjeet Singh Aujla, Manikam Tagore, Hebe Eden standing on the left of Rahul Gandhi, and A. Raja Waring. Also, you can see in the visuals, these leaders are those leaders, Rakshita, who at that particular time were standing on the table of the Secretary General, thrown papers at the chair. And at Dilip Saikia, who was at that time running the proceedings of the Lok Sabha, the papers were thrown, torn, not once but twice. First at Krishna Tenati, who was in chair, and second time at Dilip Saikia, who was on the chair. The papers were thrown and the slogans were heard. They were shouting, screaming, creating chaos and ruckus. There's a second day, imagine, of the address of the President motion, and not a single day the Parliament is able to run, especially the Lok Sabha. The time is being wasted. 18 hours have been allotted, and what these MPs are doing, especially Rahul Gandhi, stating that he wants to speak on the national security, and quoting the memoir, quoting from the unpublished item. And even he today stated that it has been authenticated. He was speaking something which was out of context. And again, Jay was telling him that he can't speak something which is out of context. He has to speak only on the president address. You imagine the kind of the gravity of the taxpayers' money it is, but everything kept aside, and they were only hurling screams and tearing papers at the chair. Right now, Rakshita, I'm outside the office of the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju. We are waiting because right now a very important meeting is being conducted in the Speaker's room. Arjuna Meghwal, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju, and the other leaders are right now in the chamber of the Speaker, that they will be now suspended. The MPs will be suspended for the entire Parliament session. The unruly Congress and opposition MPs, 8 names which exclusively Republic has. We outside reporting from the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju office. Very important to note down that the motion has been accepted by chair. These 8 MPs have been suspended for the unruly behavior, for throwing paper and placards at the chair. Back to you, Rakshita.
8 MPs. So that's a total 8 MPs. Let me just read out Harsha. Hebe Eden, Raja Varing, Kiran Reddy, Manikam Tagore, Gurjeet Singh Ojala, S. Venkatesh, Korea Ghosh, Prashani Padola, and these are the MPs. They have been suspended for the entire session. And their protest now continues shamelessly. Are they backing this behavior is the big question. Does Rahul Gandhi support, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra support this behavior, Harsha? That is the question. But the fact that they're standing with them, I think it's an answer to it.
Yeah, Rahul Gandhi is Rakshita is the most irresponsible LOP we have ever seen in the history of the, opposition party history of the parliament. We have seen Rahul Gandhi was not even stopping. These MPs, when these MPs were hurling slogans, when these MPs were standing on the table of the Secretary General, Rahul Gandhi didn't even stop them. In fact, Rahul Gandhi went on watching them. Gurjeet Singh Ojala, Amar Singh, Raja Varing, tall-heighted MPs of the Congress, they all stood. They all gave out the speaker. Rahul Gandhi not even once told these members of parliament to sit down, not to disrespect the chair. There's some protocol inside the Lok Sabha. There's a protocol of the chair which one has to respect. If a leader is on the chair of the speaker, that means he has to be respected. He has to, all the MPs have to hear what he's stating. And again, Krishna Tenati was telling them to sit down, to not create ruckus. He was telling Rahul Gandhi that he can't do that. He can't speak something which is out of context. He only has to speak about the president address. But Rahul Gandhi even didn't listen to him.
Harsha, we have a breaking news coming in now. Top ministers are right now holding a meeting at the Lok Sabha Speaker's chamber. During this session, that's a very important update that is coming. I'll just go back to Harsha on that. While the opposition MPs hold the protest, Harsha, okay, I'm told that Harsha will reconnect with us, but yes, that's the update we're getting in right now. Top ministers meeting is underway at the Lok Sabha Speaker's chamber as we speak in the parliament. As the Lok Sabha session has been adjourned till tomorrow, viewers, after the ruckus, that chaos that unfolded, the unruly scenes that unfolded, and 8 of the opposition MPs have been suspended for this entire session after they threw a paper at the speaker. And viewers, this is the breaking news we have right now. There has been several incidents, in fact, of misdemeanor, misbehavior by the MPs, by the Congress MPs today. Harsha is back with us. Harsha, tell us more about this meeting that is underway at the Speaker's chamber right now.
Yes, right now, Rakshita, I'm reporting from that chamber only, outside that chamber only. All the top ministers, Kiran Rijiju, Arjuna Meghwal, and the other ministers are right now in the chamber of the speaker, where the important meeting is, underway just after the Lok Sabha got adjourned for tomorrow. This important meeting is underway, where all the ministers are the speaker, and it's very important to keep apprise the speaker about what happened and why this was very important to suspend all these leaders, because already opposition party leaders want to have a meeting with the speaker. They have already, from the right of the Congress party, KC Venugopal has already approached the speaker that the MP should not be suspended for the entire parliament session. But why not? But why some action should not be taken against these unruly MPs? That's the question. And right now the meeting is happening for these MPs only, apprising the speaker that they have been suspended for the entire budget session. The Congress will be told directly that from tomorrow onwards, if they will not allow the Lok Sabha, the proceeding of the House to run smoothly, then more action could be taken against the unruly MPs if they will not sort out their behavior inside the parliament. If they will keep disrespecting and disregarding the chair, more stringent action will be taken by the speaker and by the chair against them. So the meeting is underway. It's been 15 minutes because as soon as the Lok Sabha adjourned for tomorrow, right now the meeting between Kiran Rijiju, Arjuna Meghwal and the other ministers is underway in the Lok Sabha. At first today, it was also decided that Piyush Goyal will be making a statement in Lok Sabha on the trade deal, but because of the chaos and ruckus of the opposition party leaders, now this statement of Piyush Goyal on the trade deal, US-India trade deal, will also not today happen in Lok Sabha. It might happen tomorrow. So the speaker is being apprised and the discussion on tomorrow and how to keep in check of the opposition party leaders to tell them that the behavior has to be proper according to the protocol and norms of the parliament. The meeting is happening in that order. Back to you.
All right. Many thanks, Harsha, for joining us with those details coming in on that story. Viewers, we will keep a close eye on the developments coming in from the Parliament House as disruption continues for a second day. Ugly scenes actually unfolded today during this session. We will continue to get you more details on that. But right now, it's time for a very, very short break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more updates. Lee has made a big charge again now. This time he could not stomach that the US trade deal has been announced. So Rahul Gandhi now says that Prime Minister has been compromised and he has sold the nation.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
This morning, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, created a ruckus and furor in the parliament. In response to the president's address, he insisted upon raising what he said were some issues of vital import to our national security. So what was he saying? He was trying to cite an article from the Caravan magazine, which in turn was quoting excerpts from General Narwane, the former army chief's unpublished memoirs. It may be recalled that the government had stopped General Narwane from publishing the book. As such, the authenticity of the excerpts cited in the Caravan magazine itself are open to question. But then let's try and take a deeper look at what is this bravura all about. So I have had a detailed look at the article in the Caravan magazine. I have no access to General Narwane's book or manuscript, but we had a look at the Caravan article in detail. So what does this article say? This article talks of the 2020 Chinese intrusions, which had culminated in the Galwan incident, in which 19 Indian soldiers had lost their lives. No weapons had been used, but the Chinese had laid an ambush with pointed stones, with baseball bats wrapped up with barbed wire and nails and studded with lethal handheld weapons. You see, 19 Indians had been killed, but in response our soldiers had given an excellent account of themselves in hand-to-hand combat, and it is said that 45, some claim up to 100 Chinese soldiers were killed, which they tried to hide by saying they had lost just 5 soldiers. The simple fact is that after this violent incident leading to 19 fatalities on the Indian side, we should have thrown the 1996 Peace and Tranquility Accord into the bloody dustbin.
A very good afternoon, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking. I am Rakshita Mishra with you. Republic TV continues to get you each and every aspects, all the contours of this mega deal between India and the United States. Stand by for what we're going to tell you about the Prime Minister's message in here. We'll tell you more details and the reaction that have come in. But first, a quick check of the headlines. Lok Sabha chaos as Rahul Gandhi's speech stopped over ex-army chief. Memoir mentioned Congress MPs throws papers at the chair. Later, they get suspended for the entire session.
आपकी मेहनत को, आपके खून पसीने को नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने बेच दिया है.
Rahul Gandhi's big charge on US trade deal says Prime Minister is compromised and that is sold to the nation. Shh. Republic has the inside scoop from the NDA Parliamentary meet. Prime Minister Modi says India-US trade sign of a new world order. The D Street cheers India-US deal. Markets soar 5% on India-US pact. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal likely to make a statement in the Parliament on the historic trade deal. All right, we have a breaking news coming in right now after what Trump posted on social media regarding that India will not buy Russian oil. We have a reaction coming in. First statement from Kremlin on trade deal. And Kremlin says that there has been no signal from India on halting Russian oil purchases. The Kremlin has not heard any official statement from India about stopping purchases of the Russian oil. And the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said that there is no such signal. So that is the breaking news we have right now. This is coming in after Trump announced the US trade deal with India. And he also mentioned in that post that India will stop buying the Russian oil, which now has got a reaction from Moscow. Kremlin says that there is no signal yet from India on they are going to buy, not buy. They're going to stop, they're going to halt buying Russian oil. That's the breaking news we have right now. So this is the update we have after the trade deal. And we have Niranjan Narayanaswamy joins us live on the broadcast for more. First statement from Russia, Niranjan, saying that there has been no word from India as far as stopping Russian oil purchases are concerned. Niranjan.
There is nothing official that's come from India to say that we are going to stop buying the Russian oil. This is a very critical statement given what has happened in the last 36 hours. First, you had a tweet from Trump in the last 48 hours where he said that India has decided to buy Venezuelan oil. That was the first indicator that came in. In fact, it was on budget morning, if I'm not wrong, when Donald Trump said India had agreed to buy Venezuelan oil. And then we had the detailed tweet that came out after the trade deal was announced. And in the same tweet, he had said that in his conversation with our Prime Minister, India had agreed to not just buy Venezuelan oil and if need be, even US oil. And that we had agreed to completely halt any Russian oil purchases. But this is significant because we have the first response coming in from Moscow. And Moscow has said that there is no signal from India. Russia says there is no signal from India whatsoever on halting purchases of Russian oil. And they are saying there is no official statement that's come in from India about stopping of this oil. This is Dmitry Peskov, who's been reported in news agencies in Russia, talking about the response, talking about India's deal with America. Let me also tell you that this is significant because on budget day, when we had India's Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, when he was live on Republic TV, a specific question was asked to him, where we asked him if India has agreed to buying Venezuelan oil, to which he agreed that India will be buying Venezuelan oil. But he was mostly silent on whether India would be buying oil from Iran anymore, which was another claim made by America. America had made the claim that we will not buy Iran oil and that we had agreed to buy Russian oil. And for the first time, we now have a response from Russia. Russia claims that there is nothing official or no indicator that we will be halting purchases from Moscow. Now, what is also significant is that Russia says, Dmitry Peskov says, in fact, India and Russia are going to expand their ties. They are saying we are going to expand our ties, their ties with India on all fronts. So Russia giving out a completely mixed signal. This is also coming on the back of India-Russia possible gas deal that could be in the pipeline. Now, that is why this becomes all the more significant. Now, the claims are not really matching. We've been talking about the need for a blueprint to understand what we give and what we have got and what we have promised to America while this trade deal was announced. And this is what we have so far. Back to you for now.
Right, of course, the fine print remains unclear, and henceforth India also is yet to make its stand clear. That's what Russia is saying as far as the oil purchase is concerned from Moscow. Thank you so much, Niranjan, for joining us with those details coming in. In fact, the full agreement has not yet been published, which of course leaves the exact scope and timelines of these oil commitments unclear. And now this was only Donald Trump who had, while posting about this posting about this trade deal, he mentions that India has agreed to stop purchasing Russian oil, which has not been confirmed by New Delhi. And so says Russia. Russia says that there has been no statement yet as to if New Delhi is going to halt purchasing Russian oil. Remember, there has been, US has made a lot of an issue about the Russian oil while it was still attempting to negotiate the trade deal on its own terms, which India clearly said that it's going to keep its national interest first. And having said that, the figures and the deals, the agreement remains unclear. The details, the big oil question still looms. What's really going to change? Niranjan, India has been one of the largest buyers of the Russian crude after 2022. And that has, of course, never gone down well with the West, especially United States of America. But, this time when Trump, we all know that Trump has this habit of making several claims, be it the ceasefire or even the India stopping to buy Russian oil. The devil lies in the details, isn't it? And one has to now wait and watch what New Delhi has to say as far as the oil is, oil purchase is concerned, because India's stand has been clear. It will do whatever serves the interest of the nation.
Well, I can tell you one thing. As far as the American media goes, there is, the versions are not matching. Of course, like we've been saying, when Donald Trump put out a tweet, he made a few tall claims. But when you look at how the American media is reporting it, and if you come live to me, I can show you in the newsroom, how we are reporting the story. Because one of the aspects that we've picked up in the last few minutes from the newsroom is that Indian refiners. Now, this is how Reuters is reporting it. This is how the American agencies are reporting it. The Western media is reporting it. They claim that Indian refiners, Indian oil companies need time to gradually wind down on Russian oil purchases. In fact, this has just been put out. They claim, in fact, Indian refiners, according to Reuters, Indian refiners need time to end Russian oil imports. Shipments have already been booked till March. Now, this is how the Western media is reporting it, that till March, there will be some oil purchase because of older agreements that are already in place. But post-March, when those agreements come to an end, there will be no more purchase of Russian oil. Now, that's what the claim is by the Western media. And we'll put out, the contrast, because India is completely silent as of now. There is no official statement coming in on whether we have decided to stop buying Russian oil. But you look at some of the data coming in, the data shows that possibly there may have been a gradual slowdown, perhaps at best, but not a complete stop in purchase of Russian oil. Even the Russian spokesperson, Putin's aide, Dmitry Peskov, saying that no official word or indication from India to halt Russian oil purchase. So there are deals in place. Those deals will continue to remain in place, and focus will be on how we switch to Venezuelan oil, perhaps, which even the minister has admitted on Republic that we will be buying Venezuelan oil. Back to you. I think Pranav has some more details.
Many thanks, Niranjan, for joining us with those details. So we have a breaking news coming in on the markets, viewers. The markets are rallying on India-US trade deal. The Nifty and the Sensex have closed 2.5% higher in energy, pharma, auto stocks leading rally. So that's the breaking news we have right now. In fact, the market today opened in green, and even the rupee gained house after India-US trade deal. And my colleague Pranav Kulkarni joined us live in the broadcast from the business desk. Pranav, clearly we saw these signs in the morning as the stock markets opened in green, the rupee also picking up finally, and now the markets have rallied today around the India-US trade deal.
Well, Rakshita, we saw the markets open with a gap up. In fact, GIFT Nifty was already indicating a gap up. The futures were indicating a gap up opening. They opened 5% higher, but then certain gains were shred because of, the number of positions that traders across the world may have taken on the Indian markets because it was an overnight decision. As of now, the markets have closed about 2.5% higher. Nifty is about 600 points higher than what it closed yesterday, and Sensex is closed over 2,000 points. The sectors that have gained are metals. Then we saw energy stocks jump, we saw bank stocks jump, and the Nifty ITs, which is the index for information technology, jumped about 1.4%. So yes, all sectors are in green, and the markets are clearly cheering the US-India trade deal announcement yesterday night.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Pranav, for joining us with those details coming in on that story. Meanwhile, viewers, we will be continuing to get you the reaction that have come in on this story. And most importantly, what the Prime Minister said today, we are going to tell you that as we speak, Prime Minister Modi, his address to the NDA MPs today at the Parliament House stands as a testament to strategic foresight and resolute diplomacy in an era of volatile global trade dynamics by framing the newly minted India-US trade agreement, securing a reduction in reciprocal tariffs from 50% to 18% as the fruit of sustained patience. The Prime Minister also underscored how persistent negotiations amid the earlier domestic criticism and skepticism over tariff handling have yielded a landmark outcome that enhances market access for Indian exports and fosters a more favorable bilateral economic environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pragmatic triumph that positions India advantageously in shifting world order, rewarding measured persistence over reactive concessions, and signals to critics that steadfast resolve rather than capitulation delivers tangible gains for the nation, 1.4 billion people, and its rising global stature. Now, here's what the Prime Minister said. Let's take you back to what the Prime Minister had said on the 7th of August last year. Narendra Modi said he is ready to pay a very heavy price for resisting US attempts to dictate the country's trade policies, as India took a defiant position in the wake of Trump's punitive export tariffs.
भारत अपने किसानों के, पशुपालकों के और मछुआरे भाई बहनों के हितों के साथ कभी भी समझौता नहीं करेगा। और मैं जानता हूं व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं। भारत अपने किसानों के, पशुपालकों के और मछुआरे भाई बहनों के हितों के साथ कभी भी समझौता नहीं करेगा। और मैं जानता हूं व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं।
All right, we have Mr. Manish Barrier, a political analyst, joining us on the broadcast for more. Thanks so much, sir, for joining us on Republic TV. And, there has been so much of reactions to what will be India doing, given how there have been attempts at bullying, by Washington, D.C. There has been so much of pressure that has been put in, so much of statements that have been put in. And, India clearly is a testimony to the fact that how it stood steadfast, it remains steadfast, and it stood for the national interest, and thereby, and by that time we saw that there was the mother of all deals that was being signed with the European Union, with UK also. There has been a boost in trade, and now I think it's somewhere signal to the world that India, there's no stopping India's growth story, and that nobody can, in fact, dictate the terms to one of the largest economies that India is.
Good evening to you and good evening to all your viewers. And I welcome it so much. That shows, again, Prime Minister in such an amazing, amazing light. There were a lot of skeptics who kept questioning him. It was very unfortunate that our opposition leaders were questioning the Prime Minister of India. But the world knew that what Prime Minister Modi was doing. In fact, probably except Brazil, no other country really stood up to Donald Trump and his idiosyncrasies. And India ensured that ultimately USA had to, I would not say bow down, but then they were not very successful really in putting India under any pressure. And with this mother of all the deals that we signed with Europe, I think that really made them, re-look into India's position and our Prime Minister's position. And recently one report came, which Elon Musk also shared. I think it tells you very clearly what Prime Minister also said today. The world is moving towards Asia Pacific, towards India. And of course, China and the world's GDP's growth rate. US is 9.9%, India is 17.7%, and China is slightly more than that. It tells you that the stand which the Prime Minister took was just the right kind of a stand. And it also, it shows his courage, foresight, vision, and what he has always been talking about, nation first. And he actually gave a lot of